Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, the Knicks did it. They win game one. Got off to a great start. Got completely obliterated at the end of the first period. Regained control in the second period. Then got obliterated again before halftime. We're down 14 in the third. Tied it up going to the fourth and finally won the game. But not before they blew an 8-point lead. There were so many runs in that game. Back and forth they went. I find it odd that anyone can draw anything definitive from that game. I mean, you want to say positive things about the Knicks. They won game one. You ought to say positive things about them. That was old gold to win game one. But there were so many runs. There were so many stretches where one team seemed like they were in complete control, and then the other team was in complete control. I did think it was a little easier to understand what was going on with the Spurs. Their first run was because Harper came in the game and was red hot. Their second run in the second quarter was because Champagne hit 5 of 6 3-pointers in one stretch. They got to get Wembayama going, and they got to get Fox going. That was, to me, two glaring problems for them in this game. They only scored 95 points. 95 points a game is not going to win this series. They only scored 40 points in the second half, and Wembayama was 6 of 21 shooting the ball. Fox was 3 of 13. Now, Wembayama got to the line a lot. His 6 of 21 might have been better, but he got fouled. So the shots didn't go, and he hit the free throws. He did have 26 points. But, man, when he's shooting 30% from the floor and De'Aaron Fox is shooting, I don't know what 3 of 13 is. What is that, 22%, 23%, something like that? Yeah, they got to get him going. Fox hit 3 wide-open threes early in the game. You know, shooters' confidence is a funny thing. He hits 2 or 3 of those. It's probably a completely different night. But he didn't hit him, and he only took 1 more 3 the rest of the game. And he tried to go to the hoop, but he was 3-9 going to the hoop. Now, maybe it's nerves. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's just one game. You know, and the second half looked a lot worse than the first. So we'll see if they can pull it together. For the Knicks, it was they got scares, man. Brunson going out, somebody falling into his knee. That was bad, but he came back and got his ankle stepped on and kept going and ended up with 30 points. Did not shoot the 3 well. Really, neither team did. The Knicks, 31%. And the Spurs 26% from 3. Really just, you know, not much there. The Spurs rebounded the Knicks, but not embarrassingly so. And it was kind of offset by the fact that the Spurs ended up with more turnovers. So they just kind of offset each other there. So now the question is, is anything we saw in that game sustainable? Champagne probably can't shoot it like that. Now, he did take some more threes in the second half as they were trying to rally, or in the fourth quarter when they were trying to rally. He had a 5 of 10 from 3, which is still good, but really was 5 of 6 in quick succession. A lot of talking and making faces and like, dude, it's a long game, man. Don't celebrate now. What are you doing? And it's possible what we saw there was Spurs youth and the Knicks experience. And you're saying we didn't see it in the last series. Well, maybe that's because the Thunder had injuries at the end of the series. We can go around and around and just chase our tail forever with this stuff. But the Knicks 1-0 and they're off today and they'll play game 2 tomorrow. Coming up tonight, it is Game 2 in the Stanley Cup Final after Vegas won the first one in Carolina. PK and I had Greg Wyshynski on from beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina, during yesterday's show. We will play that interview for you next. His take on the final, what he saw in Game 1, why it wasn't what he expected, and how this all ties back to your Utah Mammoth and how far away are they from competing at a much higher level and thinking about a Stanley Cup themselves. We'll get to all of that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's time to welcome Greg Wyshynski back to the show, senior NHL writer at ESPN. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Greetings from Raleighwood here in North Carolina. It's a glamorous place. I know that the other city in this series gets a lot of shine for being glamorous, but let me tell you what, Raleigh, North Carolina, baby. That's the glitz and glamour in this series.
Well, we know when they wanted to go big time, Andy and Barney would go into Raleigh, and they'd party.
There you go. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. I've been thinking a lot about Mayberry lately because of the death of Ted Turner. And the fact that the Andy Griffith Show when I was a kid would start at like 6:05 on Turner Broadcasting System. And the reason he did that is because he didn't want people flipping around the channel. So I've been thinking a lot about Andy and Barney lately, actually.
And Barney had to watch out because they say nothing good happens after midnight. I think for Barney, a lot of times nothing good happened when he went to Raleigh.
Well, a lot of good stuff happened for the Golden Knights last night when they went to Raleigh. Let me tell you that.
I would say a lot of good stuff happened to you. I'm sure you've covered good games, bad games, and mediocre games. That was pretty wild. Literally from the opening minute. And the thing that shocked me is these two teams defensively have been awesome. The last two series, I think Vegas given up 2 goals a game, and Carolina's given up less than that while going 12-1 in the Eastern playoffs. And then 9 goals? I mean, what the heck happened? Yeah. I mean, obviously there are a couple of really bad giveaways that you can't say, well, that's on the defense because the giveaways were horrific. But nonetheless, there were some major mistakes.
It's a combination of two things. I mean, I asked Seth Jarvis of the Hurricanes that question last night, like, did you expect there to be this much scoring? And he said, look, man, this is like 2 really good, deep offensive teams. Like we know what Vegas has, where they've got guys like Thomas Hertl and Mark Stone playing on their third line. But, Carolina was the best offensive team Rod Brindamore ever coached this season insofar as their offensive depth. So it was there on both sides to have this kind of game. But that being said, I think a lot of people expected game 1 at the very least to be a bit more of a chess match. And I think you had the other part of the equation last night, which is that the Golden Knights forecheck and pressure really rattled Carolina into making some regrettable mistakes all over the ice. And on the other side, as much as obviously Freddie Anderson had a rough go of it, giving up 5 goals, although I thought Carter Hart was a sieve last night. Like, I was very unimpressed with the game that he had. And there were some goals that he let by that he probably should have stopped. So all those things combined for it to be an incredibly high-scoring game 1, which, for those of you who wager out there, beat the over in the second period, which is not something that you'd expect between these two teams.
Yeah, that's funny when you say that in the second period. You look at now obviously we've been following Vegas very closely because that's going to be forever and ever the Mammoths' first playoff opponent. And, it was a tight series. It was fun. The last game got away a little bit, but, they were actually up in the series for a bit. And so we kind of think, oh, well, the Mammoth, man, they're going to end up giving them the best round or series. We'll see how it plays out. But Vegas, to me, with the coaching change, with just a few weeks to go, I'm wondering, how did they catch this lightning in a bottle like this?
So that's a great point, which is that it is lightning in a bottle, and I think that the Utah series might have been when they were the most vulnerable. Tortorella comes in with, what was it, like 8 games left in the season, and he takes over, he puts in his system. They're still learning it. They're still learning about each other. Carter Hart, I think, like I said, he had a rough ride last night, but his round 1 was his worst round. He's gotten progressively better as the playoffs have gone on. Torts came in at a time when things were starting to kind of trend in the right direction a little bit for Vegas, especially from a health perspective. The return of William Karlsson, their lineup, a guy that was one of the original Golden Misfits back when they were an expansion team, really kind of resets their lineup in a pretty great way. It allows Mitch Marner to play on the wing. Karlsson's a great two-way center. It really allowed them to sort of reset their lineup in the way that it should be. And so they're getting healthier. They're playing a little bit better. Torts comes in. He gives them the kick in the rear that they need to kind of focus on their details and play aggressive hockey. And again, like Utah caught them at the right time. I think the first round was when they were most vulnerable, but then you see what they did against Anaheim, and then obviously you see what they did against, half of Colorado, because the other half should have been in a hospital bed during that series with how many injuries they had. And then we see last night the trend continues.
There's a part of me that looks at this and thinks, well, Utah was basically in the middle of the standings in the regular season, and they didn't have any playoff experience. They got knocked out in the first round. There's clearly a tier of teams in the West that are better than them, and it's a long road to go. But then you watch what Vegas is doing, and you're thinking, how big is the gap given the random nature of the sport and the playoffs? We've seen hot teams before. Like, how far away are the Mammoth? I'm trying to read this.
Well, there is a gap, and I think one of the things that you heard from people after watching that Vegas series from around the NHL is, the size differential between Vegas and Utah and Vegas, some other teams in the West. I mean, if there's a trend in the NHL, it's this big physical team. Florida winning back-to-back cups with the way that they played, Vegas playing the way that they play with a bit of size and skill. And so, that's one thing that maybe Utah should take away from that series, is just to kind of maybe get a little bit bigger. But the other thing that's really interesting about Utah right now, and if you want to use Vegas as the proxy for this, Vegas has built this team not through the draft and not through prospects, but by trading away all of those things to get elite players that are in their prime. And, one of the things that Bill Armstrong's going to have to kind of figure out is how much of this deep prospect pool will eventually bubble up to be on the Mammoth roster, and how much of it could he then turn around and trade to upgrade parts of his roster in the way that Vegas has been aggressive, and in some ways in the way that Carolina has been aggressive too in making some of those deals. So they're blessed with a lot of really good players down, in the minor leagues and college and Canadian junior. They're just going to have to start to figure out whether they're going to let these guys ripen and be part of the team at a low contract cost, or turn them around into higher priced veteran players.
Of all the playoff sports that we have, the most fickle thing in terms of momentum, I think, is found in hockey. Get your opinion on it. We talk about momentum, but momentum can change so quickly in hockey. Is there really such a thing as momentum?
I think there is. And John Tortorella actually mentioned that in his press conference last night. Yeah, the idea that, and I think in his case, momentum is like, let's take care of these guys before they figure out what they did wrong. Carolina's a good hockey team. I mean, they were 12-1 in the Eastern Conference. They got out to that 2-0 lead last night. You could tell that they were rattled. You could tell that they were off their details, and there are things that they can clean up. And I think what Tortorella is saying is, momentum is on our side in the sense that we have a 1-0 lead. If we take a 2-0 lead back to Vegas, chances are we're going to win this series. But, now Carolina is going to have to really kind of dig in a little bit and figure out what was so magical about their run in the East, and can they replicate some of those things in this series against what is easily the best opponent that they've played. But again, like you said, I mean, momentum is a tricky thing in the NHL because, it could carry you through a few games in a series. Or it's something that a goaltender could stop with one great night. It's always a tricky thing to measure when you're in the playoffs.
And I would have thought that Carolina was doing exactly what they wanted. I mean, they just didn't allow Montreal to get that many shots off, and they held Vegas to 4 shots in the first period. So in a way, I think they have momentum. But does that come back to where you talk about big physical defense? Gave them problems. They lost the puck in some really bad spots, and that's why the momentum flips so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, the game plan last night for Vegas was pressure them on the puck as much as you can, hit them as much as you can in their own zone, disrupt the way they break out of their zone. And they weren't doing that in the first 10 or 11 minutes of the game. And then John Tortorella kind of went up and down the bench and in a quite animated way gave his guys a refresher on what they should be doing in the game. And then, like you said, I mean, Carolina was definitely doing Carolina things in the first period insofar as the restriction on shots on goal. But then you look in the second period, and all of a sudden, Vegas had crept within like 2 shots of Carolina for the game. And so things definitely turned as the game went on, and Carolina was unable to do the things that they usually do to dominate while Vegas exerted their will. And so it's going to be on Carolina to either figure out how to get back to that puck control, spend all game in the other team's zone kind of hockey, or they're going to have to figure out something tactically to not get rattled when Vegas is doing that to them.
I look at Carter Hart, and he's been something that people have pointed to as stabilizing Vegas as the season went on, right? And as I'm watching, and then boom, the goal right off the bat, and then later on, I'm thinking this isn't one of his better games compared to what we've seen. But yet, after they take the lead, he gets that incredible save where he gets the glove on it and flips it up in the air. And I kind of thought, well, it wasn't his best game, but when he had to have it, he had it, right?
Yeah. And my mantra for the playoffs and goaltending is always like, you don't have to steal a series for me. You just have to like not lose it for me, and so there were moments last night where I thought Hart kept the Hurricanes in the game with some of the pucks he didn't stop. That one shot from Gostisbehere that went through a Vegas player's legs, like that's almost an unscreened shot that he obviously should stop, and it nearly cost him the third period. But then he comes back and has that amazing save, obviously, on Jarvis later in the period when they needed it. And, beyond that, Mitch Marner with an incredible block with his skate in the waning minutes of the game to maybe prevent a goal. So you're right. I mean, essentially, the performance wasn't great. If you look at the analytics, he demonstrably had a worse game than Freddie Anderson, who I think his defense really let him down more than anything else. But he came away with the W, and he made the stops at the right time that they needed.
What adjustments do you expect in Game 2 from either team, or is it simply with Carolina more poise on the puck and Vegas just keep doing what you're doing, or are there going to be some wrinkles?
Yeah, I wonder if Carolina is going to tweak their breakouts a little bit, just try to change some things up tactically, because I think the Golden Knights have them game plan pretty good right now. Like I said, there are some things that are just going to get cleaned up naturally insofar as the nerves aren't going to be there. Maybe some of these guys aren't going to play as average games as they played in Game 1, knowing that the stakes are now even higher with the Golden Knights leading 1-0 in this series. I think the pickle for Carolina right now is there's one part of their team that's really not working, and that's their top line with Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, and Seth Jarvis. They've been able to get away with that for 3 rounds, basically, because of how good the rest of the team is playing. But, last night, that outside of that one shift in the third where Hart makes that great save, they were a complete non-factor, and in fact were ineffective, giving up the puck after a minute and, less than a minute in the zone and turning the puck over. I mean, they were really bad. And the problem for them is there's really kind of no way to fix that line with like breaking it up, because you don't want to mess with your checking line. You don't want to mess with Taylor Hall's line, because those have been great. And so those 3 have to kind of figure it out. And Rod Brindamore said last night, you need your top guys to hit the scoreboard. It's not good enough to be putting shots on goal or whatever. You need results, and that line has not gotten results for 4 rounds now.
You look at one of the stats you had in your story, 75%. You win, you go on here. So are you favoring Vegas? You still think it's see what happens?
I still think you can see what happens. I mean, I picked Carolina in 6. I'm not feeling great about it after Game 1, if we're being honest. But I'll stick with it. I covered Carolina for the last 2 rounds. I think they've shown a lot of resiliency. I mean, don't forget they lost Game 1 of the Montreal series in the conference final pretty spectacularly. And that was one where you're like, oh my God, is this a fraud, or are we watching a team that is going to see their fortunes change? I still think they did enough last night in a positive way that it encourages you. They can figure some things out. I love the way that they battled back in that game and, knotted up the score a bunch of times. But this is a different, they talked about it before the series that this is going to be a different challenge. And Jarvis said it last night. It's the Stanley Cup final. Like it should be your toughest series. And it clearly is. And they're going to have to really adjust to, depth of talent on the Golden Knights side, and also just how they can really disrupt what you do with that Tortorella system and the way that they pressure the puck.
It's interesting you say it's clearly the toughest series, because if you look at the regular season results, I mean, the East was so good with 5 teams over 100 points. And Vegas, I don't even know if they knew they were getting in the playoffs a month before the playoffs started. But here we are. You just think it's hands down this is the Carolina's biggest test.
It is, and here's the thing: like, there's a lot of people in the West that didn't watch the Hurricanes at all in the playoffs that really think they got an easy ride, and I'm like, no, man. Like that Ottawa team in the first round, people thought they could be a dark horse in the East, and Carolina swept them. And then the Flyers aren't great, but they had the league's hottest goalie at the time, and they got swept. And then Montreal comes hopping in, and they're on fire. They won 2 consecutive 7-game series. And after a bad first game that came after the longest layoff between 2 rounds the NHL has seen in 107 years, so they're a little rusty, Carolina kicked their teeth in for 4 games. So, like I still am hopeful that we're going to see a bounce back here and have a good long series between these two teams, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's been some brevity in these playoffs insofar as the series go. But last night was discouraging. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like the depth and the aggressiveness of that Golden Knights team and the swagger with which they play, I think were things that Carolina maybe wasn't prepared for.
When I think of where you're at in the country, I think of college basketball and probably auto racing. I'm wondering, what's the level of buzz over this series? Is it just taking over?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is a place where they had a moment of silence before one of the games for Bush, and then they had, the arena is literally on the NC State campus here in Raleigh. The buzz is interesting because, like, I think when you go through some of these neighborhoods and you're visiting businesses, it doesn't feel like it does in some towns where it's inescapable, when you see flags all over the place and people in jerseys and stuff. But then, like, once you get to the arena, it feels like you're in the greatest hockey town ever. I mean, everybody gets there early to tailgate. People love this team. The arena is loud. You could probably count on one hand the number of Golden Knights fans that were in the building last night, which isn't often the case when you have a Stanley Cup final. You usually have people spending thousands of dollars to get into these games, but it wasn't the case last night. So I like this market a lot, and it, there's a certain amount of like sentimentality I have towards Rod Brindamore and his team. I mean, he's coached here for 15 years as an assistant and as a head coach, and that was after winning a Stanley Cup as a player in Carolina. Like, I think there's some stat where, like, there's only been 2 playoff wins that this franchise has had that he hasn't been a part of. Like, it's crazy. So, there's a connection between this coach and the community, a connection between this team, the community, and it's definitely on display on a game night here.
And yet, you're going to get out of town just as it hits 90, and you're going to fly to Vegas, and it's going to be 105 degrees or whatever. So you say the sentimentality, but
listen, I live in Brooklyn. Summer in New York is lovely, but it's also like walking through a waterfall as far as the humidity goes. So, like, I have never had an issue with the dry heat in Vegas. Like, it feels like a sauna to me. Like, it feels so nice. And so I'm a big Vegas guy to begin with. Like, I've always kind of, like, connected with that town for whatever reason. It's been kind of a fun thing to have it be such a part of my life, because the Golden Knights made the conference final in 5 of their 9 years of existence. And again, you talk about the environment here. I mean, as you guys know, the environment in Vegas for those games is just tremendous. So I'm looking forward to games 3 and 4 at the very least. Who knows how many we'll have after that, but we know there's at least 2 in Vegas coming up.
I'm looking, Greg, at a list from people from Mattawan, New Jersey, and you're right there in terms of fame. Maybe Jim Jeffcoat. Do you remember him?
Jim Jeffcoat, yeah. Jim
Dallas
Jeffcoat
Cowboys.
is
Arizona State.
Yeah, and I believe they count Sonny from WWE back in the Attitude Era as being part of Mattawan, I think, last time I checked. Yeah, no, now here's the thing, though. I got an email from my old high school last year that said I had been nominated for my high school's Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And I had to put all this stuff together. It took a while. I think I might have missed a deadline, but I sent it in. I never heard back. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not that prominent at the end of the day.
I think you are. My high school doesn't even know I'm alive, so Yeah.
Well, if you get in, man, my best man at my wedding got into the West Deptford, New Jersey, his high school Hall of Fame, and
you go.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a big soccer coach.
I assume that it's like baseball. There's a big room with plaques, and people walk around, silently in awe of the greatness of the alumni of Mattawan Regional High School. But I mean, they never wrote back, unless it's in my spam folder somewhere. They never wrote back. So who knows?
Well, Greg, we appreciate the time, and enjoy the series and enjoy Vegas.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
There's Greg Wyshynski. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Jeremy Branham talking college football. So intriguing. What does Jeremy Branham know about the Houston Cougars? Can a team that played a pretty soft schedule last year but won 10 games doing it, are they ready for another big step? That is next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
DJ and PK, we are joined now by Jeremy Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. Houston is coming off a 10-3 season. They've got their quarterback back. They got the coach back. They've got very high hopes. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning.
Jeremy,
you guys are doing well.
We are doing well. Did I underestimate the enthusiasm for Houston Cougar football this year?
No, I don't think you underrated it. Everybody's excited. You know, it's been a little while since Houston was I would consider them, a contender at the top of their league. Yet last year they kind of proved a lot of doubters wrong, certainly had more wins than many anticipated them having. And they returned a good chunk of the players that won 10 games last year. So, no, I don't think you undersold it at all.
One guy that I'm extremely intrigued about is this running back, Hughes. Now, he was at Oregon, but before that, he was at Tulane, and he ran for, I think it was about 1,400 yards each season at Tulane. And it just so happens that his coach at Tulane is the coach at Houston. So he comes in my mind, as somebody to watch. What are expectations for him?
Yeah, I think probably what he did at Tulane, not necessarily in terms of the volume of stats. I don't think anybody's, hey, you got to run for 1,400 yards this year, but just to be the bell cow, to be the guy, to be RB1. You look at the numbers that he had at Tulane, and you would expect him to do that at Houston. But then you throw in the caveat that you mentioned that his head coach was Willie Fritz, and Willie really wanted him when he entered the portal. So he co-signs, the name, So he co-signs Mekhi Hughes to come into Houston and to be the number one guy. So I think that there's a lot of expectation for him. I think there's a lot of excitement for him. Grass isn't always greener, right? Didn't have the best year at Oregon. Oregon's got a stable of running backs that are all very good, had trouble getting on the field. But I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. And if Willie wanted him back, then he's a really good football player.
So if you got a running back that the coach really believes in, you got a quarterback everybody believes in with over 1,500 snaps of experience. Tell me how good the O-line is, good enough that they held some out, Shadre Hurst at least, maybe somebody else too, out of the spring game. So even though when you read the reports that it was kind of hit and miss with the O-line, well, it wasn't the first string O-line completely. How good is that O-line? How much depth is there? Because with really good quarterback and running back play, this offense could be flying.
Yeah, this will be the second year in a row that Houston is relying on the transfer portal to beef up their offensive line. You can look at that a couple of different ways. You'd like to build up that depth. You'd like to have the development on the offensive line. The other way you can look at it is you have a coaching staff that is good at evaluating, that can go into the portal and patch together a pretty good O-line. You mentioned Hurst, who you look at a bunch of the different rankings of top transfers in the portal this past season, and Hurst is one of the top offensive linemen. So that was a big get. Ebeselli, you bring him back after he had a bit of an injury. Agnello and the interior offensive line is a guy that actually played a good amount last year on the offensive line for Houston. So it's a matter of evaluating the talent in the portal. Maybe I'm a bit of a homer. Maybe I have Cougar goggles, but Fritz has always been good at evaluating talent, especially in the portal, that they have college tape on. So it's a talented offensive line. It might be one of the more talented offensive lines they've had in a while. But anytime you're putting together a bunch of new faces, and that offensive line's about cohesion, it's a unit. It's a fist, not 5 individual fingers. You always have to worry a bit about how they're going to come together. But they're very talented. I think it's a talented group.
Defensively, tell us about linebacker Siona Fotu, who is from Salt Lake, played high school ball here, was at Utah for a bit, and is now with the Cougars.
Yeah, great story. Great kid. I do the Willie Fritz coaches shows as well, and we had him on as a guest last year. Just I think he wins fans over anytime that he speaks. He's got a great background. His story's phenomenal, and he's just a really good football player. Hard-nosed. He's always in the right spot. Is he going to be a top 3-round NFL draft pick? No. But is he that guy that you're going to count on in the middle of your defense week in, week out? Yeah. So he's just incredibly solid, a really nice piece to this defense that took a step up last year. And, being in his second year in the program, I would expect some more growth from him.
I would think that with first off, so many people in Houston and so much talent in Houston, that I would expect there's a heavy Texas flavor to this roster. But I start looking and there's multiple – Louisiana, lots of kids from Alabama. They are casting. And then there are a ton of Texans, but Florida, and actually 2 kids from Utah, at least 2, maybe there's more, but I've seen 2 from Utah. So are they really building this as a hometown team, or you don't dare do that because Houston's so over-recruited?
No, I think they're trying to make it a hometown team, but you can't ignore everybody else, right? Especially in the era of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Last year, I don't know if it's still the case. I would imagine it still is. But Willie would talk a lot about how ever since he took the Houston job, he hasn't had to jump on a plane to go recruit. And you can drive to Louisiana, maybe Alabama, but with the portal, you're not really, if a guy's a junior in the transfer portal, you're not going out to watch him.
Right.
You're watching his college tape, you're watching him on film. So no, there's a heavy emphasis on local players, and Willie would tell you that he still wants to build. He believes in high school recruiting. He believes in the development. He believes in that setting the foundation of his program. But you do need to fill holes. You can't ignore the portal in today's day and age of college football. So if they feel like they need a starter at position XYZ, he's going to go find a starter at position XYZ. But he totally believes in the foundation of the Houston Cougar football program being built by high school recruits in the area, specifically Houston. They recruit Louisiana well because he's had great ties in Louisiana, dating back to his Tulane days. So he believes in the local kid, and he believes in the development of the local kid, while also not ignoring that he needs to go out and find talent in the portal if it exists. So he believes in the hometown and in the homegrown player, which I think a lot of people in the program love because they've always – you ask Houston fans, build a wall around Houston, and we could be great, which is true. But it goes back to your other point too about how it's a very recruited area.
Well, you speak of filling holes. It looks like they could have up to probably 5 transfers starting on defense, a couple up front, defensive line, and then on the back end, Jalen Mayo and Javion White. I'm assuming those guys come in and fill legitimate needs for the Cougars.
Yeah, especially at corner. You lose your McCutcheon last year was their best corner. You lose a couple of pieces in the depth there as well. So Mayo is kind of looked at as to be the McCutcheon replacement. Willie hired the corners back coach from Texas State where Mayo was at. So he brought him over with him, and then Mayo entered the portal and then came over, wanted to try his hand at playing a little higher level football. I said Texas State. It was Stephen F. Austin. Pardon me there on the Mayo and the coach. But, no, it goes back to the evaluating the player, right? Yeah, I think that's what the transfer portal has kind of turned into is, you can bring in a collection of players, but if you miss the assessment and you miss the scout on the player, then you're probably wasting a scholarship. So if you can hit – more than you miss, obviously you have a better chance of being good in the portal. Willie was good at it last year. You brought up Wigman a little bit earlier. Several other players. Amare was really good, brought him in for the portal. So it's about evaluating the right guys that are going to fit your system. There's always going to be a little bit of the unknown. It's always going to be a kind of a wild card, right? We really like what we see from this kid. We get a good impression from this kid. You vet it the best you can. But you never truly know. So it comes down to the coach's evaluation of the player. I think Willie's really good at it. Mayo's drawing really good reviews. There's a couple other transfers that will be key contributors, like you mentioned, on this team. It kind of all play out.
One of the transfers, and I don't know how much competition he has, is Evan Noel, the kicker. I mentioned 6-1 in one-score games, so the kicking game figures prominently. And Noel transferring in from Florida.
Yeah, no, Willie's a special teams guy. He puts a major emphasis on the third phase of the game. He thinks that's very important. It is, right? I mean, how many? You mentioned the one-score games. The punting side of things can flip the field. The return side of things can totally change your average field position for a game. And Fritz is, he's into the weeds about all the numbers too. If he can start 5 yards better in his average field position, he's going to do everything in his power to get it done. He is pretty meticulous and about putting his team in the best position to give him the best odds of having a scoring drive. So he's a big believer in the kicking game. It's something he takes very seriously. If he put emphasis on a kid to bring him in, he values the guy. I know there's a Houston kicker on the team too that they brought in from the high school ranks. He's been in the program a couple of years now. That probably will compete. But I imagine too that Noel will probably be the guy.
The quarterback, I think one of the keys to success on your team is look how many games your starting quarterback starts. And he started every one of them, right? And I think that makes a difference. And I got to admit, I wasn't sure what to expect, but he had a very nice season. I'm thinking, though, that was, obviously last year, and now he should be able to up his game there. How much more is expected of Weigman?
I think that's a fair assessment of him coming to Houston, and I think a lot of the fans didn't really know what to expect either. And they knew him well. Weigman's a Houston kid, went to high school in the Houston area. He didn't go too far at his first college stop. They're in College Station. That's an hour and a half away from Houston. So people were aware of his collegiate career and kind of, the ups and downs at A&M, where he had some flashes. He showed some things. But none of those 3 years he was there, I don't think you would, there's nothing really to write home about. So they knew he was incredibly talented, 5-star kid, oozes potential. Can he put it all together? Also had some injury concerns at Texas A&M, so can he stay healthy? I think was a fair question going into last year, and he answered them all. It was really solid, really solid. And kind of like we were talking earlier, I don't think he's going to be a top 3-round pick in the NFL, but a really good college quarterback. Knows how to run an offense, knows where to put the ball. Had some good targets last year. I think he'll have some good targets again this year. I think you hit it right on the head with the experience thing. I think experience is vital for that position, especially playing Power 4 football. And you hear more of these NFL teams, too, that they want to draft these college kids that have played a lot of games because they feel they're more ready, no matter what their potential is or their talent is. So, his growth, I think he's playing pretty close to his ceiling. I think that he can cut down the turnovers maybe a little bit. I don't think that Houston wants to, be a team that, they're not the air raid. They're not going to run 100 plays a game. They believe in controlling the game. They believe in, managing the game. So I don't know if the numbers will look better, but I think, watching him run the offense could look a little bit smoother, although it was pretty smooth a year ago.
Jeremy Branham joining us, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. You talk about having some good targets. I'm always surprised at how many programs don't seem to really value and recruit tight ends. A major matchup problem when you get the right guy, and a receiver who's right in a quarterback's face, usually easier throws. They tend to be big targets. Patrick Overmeyer transferring in from UTSA, 6'5", 230. I'm not sure how he would have been overlooked and why someone like that, if he's really good, wouldn't have been in the Big 12 in the first place. Maybe he's a late bloomer or whatever. Does he just look great out there in spring drills? Or do you think there's really something to him?
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think he uses a lot of potential. He was a bit of a late bloomer. And I think he played receiver even in high school, if I remember reading correctly, and then kind of grew into the tight end position. Redshirted his first year at UTSA, still putting on muscle and growth. But Houston had a great tight end last year, and Tanner Koziel, as y'all know, led the team in catches, draft pick by Jacksonville. Houston does believe in the tight end, so you and Willie Fritz have the same mindset when it comes to that. Plus, you'll see Houston run some 12 personnel they'll do some double tight end stuff. So they do value the tight end, and I completely agree with you. I think the tight end can be a quarterback's best friend. And Willie loves the size of that position too. But you saw that with Koziel. You'll see that again with Overmeyer. Overmeyer's best football is in front of him. 6'5", 230. He's a Houston kid as well. So another Houston guy coming back home. But the thoughts on him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. What I've read and what I've heard about him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. He hasn't had the production of Koziel. Maybe it wasn't a tight end friendly offense at UTSA. Don't watch a ton of Roadrunner football. But they think that he can I don't think he's going to have the year that Koziel had, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think it'd be tough for Overmeyer, whose career high in catches is 30-ish with 350 yards, to put up a 74-catch season. But I think he's going to be the bona fide tight end number one for Houston and take a huge step forward.
Tell us about this hotshot quarterback freshman who came on campus early, played well in the spring game. I think some people say he might be the number one freshman coming in at quarterback, and I don't know how much time he'll get this year, but seems like next year would be his time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him with 4-game rule where you can play in now in college football and still preserve a red shirt. I imagine we'll see him some. Do we see him in more than 4 games? I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see how they deploy him, and a lot of that will depend on the health of Connor Wigman as well. If Wigman gets hurt and has to miss a month, well, then Henderson's more than likely going to be your starter. But if Wigman stays healthy, I imagine they would like to preserve that redshirt year. We'll see. But, yeah, it depends on which recruiting rankings you would look at. Some rankings had him as the number one recruit in all of college football, top quarterback in college football. Early in his high school career, and he went to high school here in the Houston area too. He was coached by Michael Bishop, who Willie Fritz coached in JUCO and won a junior college national championship with. So that's kind of the tie there between the Houston program and Keyshawn Henderson. But a dual threat guy early in his high school career. He probably wasn't respected as much for his arm. And then in his last couple of years in high school, everybody started to fall in love with his arm. Uber talented, can run. He's got a cannon for an arm. Needs the experience, like we talked about earlier. Needs the feel for the game, but no, he's a guy where he's got all the potential in the world.
Everyone, when they talk about the whole Sorsby situation at Texas Tech and Hammond getting healthy, points to Game 3, the conference opener, Houston at Texas Tech. How much anticipation is there for that game in Houston, and how much are people going nuts over the quarterback situation at Texas Tech?
Yeah, from the fan base, they're paying attention to it. I think the walls of the athletic office, they're worried about them. But from the fan base's perspective, it's fueling the fire. Tech and Houston has kind of, become a pretty bitter rivalry over the years. You have the history, back in the day in the Southwest Conference. Tech and Houston would play some out-of-conference games too before Houston's arrival in the Big 12. So it kind of kept the rivalry alive. And then once Houston joined the Big 12, it's kind of made it a natural rivalry across pretty much every sport. Tech has had the best of Houston when it comes to football. So Houston, desperately wants to beat the Red Raiders. How could you not? And then Texas Tech, they look down at Houston. They're not at our level. So it's just the natural fun rivalry of college athletics that really goes across all the sports. So now you see some of the stuff where the fan bases mock each other for whatever it is, and certainly Sorsby's what's dominating the news cycle right now, and the rivalry between Houston and Texas Tech.
How much is there, and I'm sure this is, again, the coaches would never speak to this, but the fact that Houston doesn't play TCU, doesn't play Arizona, doesn't play Arizona State. It's really at Texas Tech and at Utah. Those are 2 big games, but the other 7 are manageable. And then if they get even one of the other 2 games, they're in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, that's probably you're right. It's probably more of the fan base conversation.
Don't play BYU either. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think the Big 12 is an underrated league where I think there's pretty good depth across the board, and you see some teams like Houston last year that was a 4-win team the year prior, and then all of a sudden they win 10 games. I think you could see that from a bunch of different teams around the Big 12. What does Oklahoma State look with their first-year head coach? Does Aranda get a little bit of a bounce back at Baylor? Rich Rod in year 2. Deion's all wild card. Cincinnati's been a team that can win at a high level. Kansas State can be solid. UCF can be really good at times. So I don't really buy into a whole lot to the preseason strength of schedule, just because you have, especially now, especially with the transfer portal where you can get good overnight. I don't put a whole lot of stock in this team, their schedule in 2025 had this win percentage. That could flip upside down in 2026. So I don't personally put a whole lot of stock in that. I think from a fan base perspective, you probably do have some of that. Hey, get by this game, and then we're here, and then that gives us a chance to be here. I think that there's a lot of quality coaches in the Big 12 that can flip a lot of their programs, like I said, overnight.
All right. We appreciate the time. Jeremy, thanks for joining us and spelling out what you see with Houston Cougar football. We appreciate it.
You got it. You guys have a good summer.
All right, there's Jeremy Branham talking Houston Cougar football. A reminder to join Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe Friday from 10 to 2 at the Larry H. Miller Summer Games in Cedar City. Celebrate 40 years of a Utah sports tradition. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Back live in San Antonio, and a fool on the court with a cell phone and a night in jail. Off he goes. Very quickly escorted out of here by 3 security guards, including one wearing a cowboy hat. Up top, Anunoby, a straight on 3. Too strong, rebound, tipped by Brunson out to Bridges' right wing. Brunson's open, right corner, three-pointer. It's good! Jalen Brunson puts the Knicks in front with a clutch three-pointer. 1:50 to go. They're up by 2. Brunson holding it just across midcourt, defended by Vassell. 8 to shoot, right wing, crossover, right elbow, step back, pump fake, leans in, throws it up, and he knocked it down. Jalen Brunson, a ridiculous shot, and the Knicks have a 6-point lead, 38 seconds to go.
The New York Knicks win Game 1, 105-95 over the San Antonio Spurs. PK, that audio they had in the huddle early in the game of Karl Anthony Towns saying our offense will come around, our defense compared to Cleveland. The Spurs only scored 95 points. Now, whether that's the Spurs missing shots, the Knicks playing great defense, or the Knicks at least taking away the easy stuff, and then the Spurs couldn't hit the harder shots, 95 is not a winning number for the San Antonio Spurs, nor anyone else in this era of the NBA. To think you can sit at 95 and win 4 games, not happening. Spurs got to figure out a way to score more points. It's a bad number.
I thought it was both, though, because the Knicks there with the nice third quarter comeback, and then they got really stalled until Brunson hit that 3 that they just, and neither team was scoring.
Yeah.
And then once they got it up a little bit with time and score, where it was 2-3 possessions, then the offense was a little bit better because there wasn't as much pressure. But I thought the defensive intensity for both teams was really, really good. And Brunson is a bad man. He's just a bad man. I love guys who are the primary scorers and are not having a good shooting game, but come up friggin' huge at the
late
end.
in the game, even if they're not,
yeah. And that other one where he looks like he's stopped, he pivots, fades back. That's just awesome, man. I love that stuff.
12-31, he had a lot of misses, but he had enough makes. At 2 of 9 from 3, but the big 3 late.
Yeah, he was
big,
1 of 8.
Big. Yep.
And he's open, and there's zero hesitation because I know I'm a bad man, and he makes it, and that was probably the biggest shot of the game. Very, very impressive. And exchanging some communication with someone around here, watching Harper, a rookie, a teenager, playing well in the finals.
Yep.
And I threw to this person a couple weeks ago, I think Darren Peterson is better. And it might be. Jazz are bearing down on taking him unless something happens, and he's going to be a fine player.
Harper really carried the Spurs when they got off to a bad start. He came in the game, and everything turned around. And Champagne, he carried him in the second when he got hot from 3, and he had 5 of 6 shooting from the three-point line at halftime. But he finished with 5 of 10 in the second half. He had the 1 free throw. He's 1 for 2 at the free throw line. Right. And so those guys gave him a spark, and they had 55 points at halftime, which, okay, that's 110 in the game. That gives you a good chance to win. But at 40 points second half, and nobody really went. Wembayama, like Brunson, tried to keep grinding and scoring. Like Brunson, he was not efficient, 6 of 21. He shot a ton of free throws. And his field goal percentage might have been better. He's going to the hoop, and they're hammering him, and he's going to the line. If they don't foul him, maybe he's not 6 of 21, maybe he's 9 of 24 or something. Who knows? But nobody could really go with him. And I thought De'Aaron Fox had 3 pretty good looks. 2 of them certainly were good looks. Maybe one wasn't. Early in the game, and he missed them all. And he only took one more 3 the rest of the night, and he missed it. And they need more than 7 points out of him. He played 38 minutes. And you got to figure out how to get him going. And maybe it's just one game. Though. I know, but 7 points on 13 shots isn't good enough. And I get it. He's a role player. I don't expect him to be out there averaging 25 or 30 like Wembayama.
So if he gets 18 and Harrison Barnes gets 4, I mean, you're right back where you are.
That's true. Yeah.
They got Big Vic.
Well, Harrison Barnes didn't score though.
I just used that as an example.
Okay. I mean, the only role guy.
I just looked at him and.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, all the role guys. I mean,
Johnson, if you want.
Harper comes off the bench,
right?
But I don't think of him as a role guy.
I think they're all role guys.
Everybody but Wembayama's a role guy. Yeah. So it's more Champagne because he's the guy who gave him something. And it's 16 a game. Do I expect him to have 5 threes again? I don't expect him to average 5 threes a game. Maybe play in transition a little more.
I think Fox is your guy.
As far as someone who ought to. He's getting better. Yeah. He's getting paid like it. Yeah. I mean, Champagne's of
all those guys, because Harper's
contract.
Not there yet. He will be, and he'll be better than Fox. But of all those guys, he is the most accomplished. So I agree with you. I expect more from him.
He's the veteran. He's the guy getting paid the most until Wembayama's contract kicks in. So something. Help me a little bit. All right, game 2 coming up tomorrow night. The NBA Commissioner Adam Silver did his State of the Game address here before the finals. He said the NBA is still investigating the Clippers for possible salary cap circumvention with Kawhi Leonard's connections to the now bankrupt banking company Aspiration. He refused to put a timeline on it and said they hope to wrap it up soon.
Who cares? Kiss my aspiration. I mean, the Clippers aren't going to win anything. Let them pay them all that money. It's a waste.
Take away draft picks?
No, give them more. For being creative.
They're not getting more for being creative.
They're not winning anything. Who cares?
They are not. Well, if you want a playoff berth and they've got it, you care about that. But they're not winning anything other than that. You're right. All of that for what?
That's my point.
You go out there and go 42-40. All right.
Yeah.
DJ and PK.
#NFL.
They caught me by surprise. I loved LA. I love the coaches, the organization, my teammates, everybody a part of it, the staff, the fans. I love the whole vibe of LA, Los Angeles, the Rams, and it was upsetting. I was upset for a good little bit of time. But when you're an athlete, you understand the nature of business. Everybody does what they think is best for their business, and that's the situation that I'm in. I'm happy to be a part of the Browns. I'm happy that they believed in me and they were able to make that trade and bring me here, be with my teammates, be with everybody here. And I truly do believe in everybody in the locker room. But it was upsetting at first. But you got 2 choices: that you can either work or you can give up. And I ain't never been a quitter.
That's Jared Verse. He hit all the right notes for you there, PK. Admitted it stung and he didn't want to go, but he's not a quitter. He's going to work, and the nature of the business.
Well, he polished a turd. Yeah, good for him. I mean, he has no choice, but obviously he would rather stay with the Rams. Yeah. Who wouldn't? But at the same time, you just don't know. This league can change pretty quick. And you just look at golf when he was traded from the Rams and going to Detroit. That looked like, oh my gosh,
Detroit looks more bleak than Cleveland. Now, I get Cleveland's had problems. Yeah. But it does seem like Cleveland's made a few smart moves lately. They've made a few head scratchers.
Detroit's a pretty good football team now.
Detroit really did turn it around.
Yeah. So who's to say?
I'm not here to fill Garrett's shoes. I'm here to work. I'm here to be the best version of me, and the best version of me is going to be the best defensive player in the league. Jared Verse hitting a lot of the right notes. Green Bay Packers say that star pass rusher Micah Parsons will not be cleared to play until at least mid-October. They have a firm organization rule. You must be at least 9 months removed from surgery to be cleared to play. He underwent ACL reconstruction and meniscus surgery late last year. Packers should be in the mix, right? They ought to be able to at least tread water, get him back midseason.
I think so.
It's not good, but it also shouldn't be. It shouldn't wreck the season.
I agree.
49ers tight end George Kittle said he plans to be cleared to play in Week 1 this season after tearing his Achilles late last year. He'd be roughly 8 months removed from surgery if he plays. And Seattle Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold says he appreciates new offensive coordinator Brian Fleury not installing an entirely new playbook, as he's part of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, just like former Seattle offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Seattle, of course, winning the Super Bowl. It wasn't broken. Don't fix it.
Yeah, I don't like Kubiak spelling his name with a K there. It's got to be a C.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Start with a C, end with a C? Oh, the first name. You don't care about Kubiak. It's the Clint. Clint with a K.
Right.
Well, you used to say that. Somebody with a K. Who'd you used to say that about?
Ostertag. It's 1-800-CARS.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew
Cars with a K.
I knew you did it, and I couldn't think what it was about. That was totally Pavlovian. It's like someone rang the dinner bell right there. The K, I'm like, hey, he said that before. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Right now in college football, we have no rules. We have state laws. We have different in every state. We have litigation. The NCAA cannot enforce their own rules because every time they try to enforce the rule, there's a lawsuit. I mean, an example would be Ole Miss's quarterback. They say he can't play next year. He's playing next year because of litigation. So, but this is just the way it is. It's become an arm race. Who spends the most has got the best chance to win. But I think it's a race to the bottom because if you don't spend to win, you lose your fan base and you don't have any revenue.
That's Nick Saban. College football. There are a number of college football affiliated people. Obviously, he's a broadcaster now. Appeared during a congressional hearing yesterday as they testified about the need for legislation to regulate college sports. Utah defensive end Lance Holtzclaw represented athletes by appearing and addressing questions. Can you imagine testifying in Congress as a college student? They call PK out of Arizona State.
I don't know that I'd necessarily call it testifying.
Getting interviewed by testifying means it's like there's some kind of legal proceeding. Somebody might go to jail.
Right.
I'm thinking more, you're not under oath, but you're involved in the process of potentially writing a new law.
I'm not sure what the word is, but
right.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love it if no one would ever ask me to do that. No one cares what I think, but sure, that's a great experience for him. Actually, get himself some public speaking essentially with the spotlight. You can only benefit from that. And Saban. Yeah, I get what he's saying, but we got to be careful that we don't overregulate because I don't really think there's anything different. The difference is now the sums of money are astronomical, and it's what's been going on, only it's going on at a high-speed chase. And so with a high-speed chase comes all sorts of danger. You may crash yourself. Now you may hit somebody, innocent bystander.
So you're now the Indy 500 in NASCAR. It's televised. It's under the lights, and everybody's in the grandstand watching. Whereas before, it was some cannonball run, coast-to-coast race at night that you knew if they roared through town, but you couldn't really watch the whole race.
The best teams were spending an inordinate amount of money. They were paying players. There were transfers. So there's everything that we have, only it's accelerated at a crazy level.
There were people making 4, 5, and 6 figures, and now they're making 6, 7, and 8 figures.
Yeah, and it's out. It's more in the open, and it's more discussed. Who was it? What's his face? The LSU guy with the raspy voice.
Ed Orgeron?
Yeah, who said, we used to go in the back door, now we go in the front door.
That was a great line.
He was making a metaphor there, but you get the point.
It was a great line, yes. And it was 100% true.
Right.
He told everyone the truth.
Guess who's back at LSU?
Yeah.
Well, he knew what was going on.
He spoke the truth.
He'd been in the SEC
we all
forever.
knew what was going on. I had heard a million stories. If you were in it and you had the trust of people, I've had guys... You've had them. I mean,
Yep.
I can't even remember them all.
It's true. It's true. There were all sorts of extra benefits floating around, from tickets to games to cash and bags. But what will Congress do? What will the feds come up with?
Yeah. On the surface, though, I agree with what Nick is saying.
He told 80% of the truth. He left out the craziness, the wackiness that's going on before. But he's right. The NCAA can't enforce its rules, and neither can the CSC. The schools want the rules, and then as soon as they have the rules, they're looking for a loophole to break them. And we're only seeing a little bit of it in the pros. That's what we're seeing with the Clippers, looking to break the rules. Their rules have largely held, except maybe in this case with the Clips. The question is, when the feds, whatever rule they come up with, if they pass something, that whatever rules they come up with are bound to favor somebody and harm somebody else, and somebody else, whoever that is going to be like, those are terrible rules.
Yeah, those that have the most money are going to be favored.
Right, but if the rules they come up with severely limit the money, the people who have the most money will immediately complain about it.
But they'll still have the most money. The most money can be a moving target, but they'll still have the most money. So whatever rules you're going to make is not going to undercut Ohio State.
Right.
They'll always have the most money.
But if there's a limit, and now like 20 teams can pull up alongside Ohio State.
They won't.
Okay.
That's socialism. You're not going to be able to do that.
Well, that's what a salary cap is, isn't it? I mean, socialism is a pretty dirty word, but isn't the salary cap socialism? I mean, in a free market.
But there'll always be advantages. The Ohio States of the world will always have the advantages.
And if they have the advantage over 135 schools under the new rules, then School 71 is going to go to their senator and say, this is a terrible system the feds just set up.
They're just going to say, what?
And if they flatten the top, then Ohio State's going to be mad that 20 teams have pulled alongside them and they're not spending everybody.
They will never pull alongside them because the TV networks are not going to pay big money to see anybody but the big dogs. So it's always going to be there. It's never going to change. You're just changing rules, great, but you're not changing the balance of power.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Swung on, line towards left field. That's a base hit. France coming around third. They're going to wave him home. The throw by Marsh is not in time. And the scoreless streak is over. And listen to the crowd applaud Christopher Sanchez here in a 1-1 game. Everyone on their feet applauding Christopher Sanchez. 50 2/3 scoreless. Ended by Jackson Merrill's single to left.
Freaking Padres.
The Phillies beat the Padres 3-2, but the guy who grew up in North Jersey rooting for the baseball team that is essentially the hometown team for South Jersey is not happy that the Padres scored a run, because they scored a run off Christopher Sanchez, who is at 50 2/3 innings of shutout ball. He was getting within shouting distance of the major league record. Oral Hershiser is looming out there. It would take another start, maybe two. And the Padres scratch out a run on a Jackson Merrill single in the 7th, and the streak is over. I mean, it's one of the, is it the 5th longest streak? It's something like that in baseball history. He didn't catch Hershiser. He didn't catch Drysdale. I don't know how many more people he didn't catch. And the Phillies won the game. I mean, they just keep rolling. Best managerial change in how many years?
152?
No. No, because Jack McKeon famously turned the Marlins around and they won the World Series in 2003.
But we're not in October yet.
No, we're not there yet. But the Phillies are back over 500. It was a disastrous start, and they're flying, and they're dominating the Padres, beating them 5 times in a week and a half, so that's great. 663 pitches, faced 190 batters during the streak. He was awesome. So, law of numbers, is he going to go crashing back to earth, you think? Or he's going to still just be awesome? I mean, his ERA is down in the ones,
well, we'll
isn't
see
it?
what kind of pitcher he really is.
Yeah.
And then that is over the long term. Anybody can get hot.
Shohei Ohtani, 6 more scoreless innings. Dodgers shut out the Diamondbacks 7-0. Kyle Tucker, 2-run homer into the pool there at Chase Field.
Yeah.
Do people like the pool there, or do they find it gimmicky? Or is it pretty popular?
Oh, I think it's just been a part of the deal now for so long that they accept it. Yeah. But yeah, the kids go in it. It's mostly kids when they show it. And it's cool when the water splashes if it's the team you're rooting for. But yeah, I've tried to watch that game, flicking back and forth. And he's dominant, man. 0.74.
That's ridiculous.
He gave up 2 hits. he was perfect through 5, I think. And it was either 4 or 5, but I think it was 5. And you could see Roberts over there thinking, "Oh no,
I want to take him out, but if I wreck a perfect game, I'm going to have a long press conference."
All these people came to see him.
I know.
I know he was, and
just give up a hit and get it over.
The catcher, right-handed batter, swinging. He throws so hard, and he got one right down the line, first base, and so. Roberts then, okay, now I can take him out because he only goes 6.
Yeah, that's where they like to draw the line.
So he's got his BA is now above 300. I know there's other stats, but he reached base 5 times. They nibbled every time, didn't want to pitch to him, so he walked 3 times. So he just is just amazing, man. It's there have only been 4 instances of players since 1900. Pitching at least 6 scoreless innings and reaching base at least 5 times in a game.
3 for 4 with 2 walks. Pretty good.
Yeah, he's amazing, man.
Yeah. Rob Manfred, MLB commissioner, acknowledged he worries that Major League Baseball's labor negotiations could lead to a long work stoppage resembling the players' strike of 1994-95. We want to make an agreement. At the outset of negotiations, I went and said myself, we're open to whatever ideas people have, but we need a realistic framework that addresses the fans' concerns about competitive balance. You just can't ignore that financial penalties have not gotten it done for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to spin it from the owner's perspective.
Yep.
That's his job. I mean, you can go at it both ways. I mean, you're all worried about a salary cap for people who've signed $700 million contracts. It doesn't resonate with the public.
It does not. So you're limited to $40 million a year when you could be making 50. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, play ball. I think that Bryce Harper's right. People just move on to other stuff. I mean, I don't think we're going to have fans marching up and down outside Dodger Stadium or.
No, but I can speak from my hometown. That spring training brings in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hey, there's a lot of workers who. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of people to put on a game, and from the parking lot attendant when you drive up,
just the hotels, and the people
absolutely.
from the Midwest who come into town, and
yep.
it's a big deal. It's a major economic hit for people who need that
the money. Yep.
Yeah. And that sucks.
There's a lot of people employed well beyond the players. I mean, teams will end up with layoffs. There'll be salary people in organizations that get let go.
Well, maybe they should get private equity, I guess, huh?
See, I see what you did there. Bees lost to Albuquerque 14-13. They'll play again tonight, 6:35. Listen on 1280 The Zone. DJ and PK.
#golf.
Vegas. They won game 1. Can they do it again? Vegas and Carolina.
Golf.
Oh, they're out of order.
Down the list.
Well, I thought we were just skipping it because of time.
Oh.
Sorry. The Memorial Tournament's underway in Ohio. This is a big week for golf because
there's a lot of betting in Vegas.
There's got a Women's U.S. Open. You got the Memorial in Ohio. Tony Finau, the lone local in the field this week.
Yeah, Jack Nicklaus's tournament.
I saw a clip yesterday of how tricky it is and a bunch of guys chipping onto the green and the ball rolling off and guys putting and it rolls back to them. And yeah. Jack designed it and then he redesigned it. It's a good test. Unless you're the one who has the ball rolling back to their feet. Then you hate it. Proposed future PGA Tour model that might take effect in 2028 would include 2 tracks of tournaments with players competing to remain on the top track and golfers in the lower track fighting to move up the next season. PGA Tour CEO Brian Rolab said there's hopes of revealing that model later this summer.
I have to see how that's going to work because it seems like we already have it to an extent with the Corn Ferry. But I don't want to rule it out because I don't know how it's going to look. I mean, you can tell me how it's going to look, but I need to see it.
Yeah. How many times are we going to have 2 tournaments in a week? Are they going to get into places that are closer to you? That's what every golf fan wants. This would be great if it puts a tournament close to me.
Yeah.
And in a way, this whole third tour, I mean, Bob's come on forever and saying there's A, B, and C tournaments. And there's some tournaments when you're a C tournament, like you just know the top 20 players in the world aren't coming. You don't have enough prize money or the time of year or whatever. And the fall thing, most of the big names, they're not unless there's a specific tie, they're not playing when the NFL's on. The payouts aren't as big. And that's just going to be expanded these, weeks after the major. What are they going to do there? The big names don't seem to want to play most of those times. The TV networks don't want to pay top dollar for those tournaments. But there's so many, creating this, there's streamers that want in. There's other TV networks looking for programming. Just because one of the big four networks doesn't want it, or, maybe Golf Channel. We're seeing CW and USA Network getting in. Maybe they pay for a tour. 5.3. That seems like a big ask. All right, Auburn beat UCLA to win the NCAA men's golf title. Second time in 3 years. There you go. DJ and PK.
#NHL.
Game 2 tonight in Raleigh, Vegas, trying to double up that lead after winning Game 1. It's 6 o'clock on ABC. We had Wyshynski on, senior writer for ESPN. Get that podcast wherever you get your podcasts. He was really good. He's in Raleigh, and we spoke to him. He was surprised to see Vegas winning Game 1. We just played that for you in the 6 o'clock hour. It's out there. Can Vegas seal the deal here? 2-0 would feel like a big deal.
It would be, yeah.
6 o'clock tonight, ABC has that. That's what's trending, brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Andy Bailey, NBA analyst and writer for Bleacher Report at 8:30. We'll talk NBA Finals with him, Shehan, Jeyarajah. Our spring football tour. We'll go with a guy who's more up there at the 30,000-foot view. What does he think of the Big 12 this year? We'll talk with CBS Sports national college football writer, Shehan Jeyarajah. That's at 9:05. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoq.
Look, private equity doesn't like to add costs. They like to limit costs because they have a bottom line that they have to hit. I just hate when you've got somebody who has been working in the marketing department forever, or who's been a sports information director forever, and they're doing their job and they're busting their butt and they're trying to tell good stories, and those are the guys that are going to get affected.
And to me, it's just a direct response to BYU having all the money they need at their disposal, a built-in way to fund the program. There's nothing about this deal that screams win to me. I don't like the feeling of it. Matt Hayes summed it up best at the end of his article. He said, this is the same Utah athletic department that wanted so badly to push out football coach Kyle Whittingham at the end of a 10-win season, but was willing to pay him $13.5 million over the next 2 years to do so.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And it is time for the question of the morning. The Knicks have won 12 consecutive playoff games, including 7 on the road. Can we recognize their greatness yet? No, for multiple reasons. One, the East sucks. 2, people don't like New York. Neither one of those deals directly with the question at hand, which is, hey, the Knicks look pretty good, don't they?
Well, I mean, if you don't like New York, then you simply don't like America.
I don't think that's true. I think there's a big chunk of America that loves America and doesn't like New York.
Except, where do you go?
If you want to see a Broadway play, you go to New York. If you want to see the Statue of Liberty, you go to New York.
Everybody has gone to New York.
If you want to walk around Central Park, you go to New York.
It's not a matter of you don't like it. It's simply that you're jealous.
Yes, that is 100%. That's like
New York.
I wonder the last time you said something that had that much truth. That's like when they say it's gold. Yeah, but that's golden. It's 99% pure.
You're a nincompoop.
It's jealous. It's jealousy. The size, the money, the power, the amount of winning in sports, yes. And just the amount of people from New York. The national media is as big a homer as anybody else, and a lot of them from New York. And people get tired of hearing about that.
We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, which is awful. Mm-hmm. But where did they go?
I went to New York. And where do people go? And when we're in New York, where do we go? And it's not like I'm in New York a lot. I could probably count on, I haven't been to New York 10 times in my life. But the first time I went, after the memorial was done, went down, and I had a friend living in New Jersey. He's like, I'll meet you here, and we'll walk down the, you know all these places. I didn't know any of them. He says, we'll walk down the west side. There's a big walk there. You'll see the river. You see Jersey, and we'll go until we hit the memorial. We'll walk around there. He says, I'll hop back. I can get my path train there and go back to Jersey, and I'll give you directions, and you'll walk up the High Line back to your hotel. I had never even heard of the High Line. That was a great walk. I was glad we went down there because obviously I watched it all on TV, and you want to go there. So, yeah, he gave me like 3 or 4 things to do that were super cool in New York. But I grew up on the west side of the country. I don't live in New York.
Well, that's a fine side of the country.
Yeah, it is. You, Jersey, New York, childhood. You have warm fuzzies for New York that I'm just never going to have. But you're right. It's big, it's loud, it's brash, it's wealthy, it wins a lot. And those are all the reasons, and those all feed into jealousy, 100%.
Where's the parade on Thanksgiving?
Well, my dad told me it was Macy's and it was New York, but I never got up for that thing.
Where do we go to drop the ball?
Times Square. I have seen that. Yes, I've seen that.
Come on.
I think I saw Macy's when I was like 9.
It's
a big Peanuts balloon. What are we doing here?
L.A. has become the entertainment and all that, and Hollywood.
Yeah.
Where are all the morning shows Monday through Friday for only 70 years now? Where do they originate?
ABC is really close to Times Square because on one of those trips, and I was like, well, I guess I'm killing time in the morning, and I'm walking around with a guy I'm working with. We walked to Times Square. We walked right past the ABC studio. We kept going up. I think we had to veer a little to the right to get to Central Park, and we knocked them all out. Now, I guess you got to see Times Square at 2 a.m., not at 2 p.m. It's a little different beast.
Where does everything originate? It is time to celebrate.
San Diego.
San Diego is an awesome place, man.
It is, but
not a knock against any of these other places.
Everything doesn't originate there.
Right.
I went there. I should have gone to Portland or Denver or something. I don't know. These are all nice places, but it's just different.
They're great places.
Yeah. I read a really interesting thing that because I thought New York was basically always New York in the history of the United States, and it's not true. Boston and Philly were it. And D.C. didn't exist. It was swampland. And New York was a clear number 3. And they built the subway first, which enabled more people to live closer together, which was more money, started to create its own weather, and New York just blossomed. And the wealth and the power that came with that. And went zooming past Philly and Boston, which are still big, great cities in their own right. But
where did
New York's
the Beatles
got its
go
own thing.
When they came over?
Ed Sullivan Show.
Does it ever end?
It does, probably. But not in this segment. You got 6 more minutes to the break. I'm sure you can sustain this for 6 more minutes.
I think you got to give the Knicks their due.
And not just the Beatles at Ed Sullivan, but then back to Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just keeps happening. Yeah.
The Knicks have got...
You do have to give them their due.
The respect, and they've got it on the floor through earning it.
I think the East isn't as good, but if you're great and everybody else in the East isn't as good, that's a them problem, not you. 2 things can be true. And to win 12 in a row, even in a regular season, if some team, it doesn't matter who it is, if some team wins 12 in a row, we're talking about it because it's just hard to do. Random stuff happens on random nights. 3s go in for the other team. You have an injury. 3s don't go in for you. Stuff can go wrong. To win 12 in a row, it takes something. And to dominate the way they have takes something also. There's a lot of blowouts. There's 2, maybe 3 close games. You could argue they won by double digits, but it wasn't really a double-digit game.
Right now, Becky Hammon is uttering Bill Walton's most famous quote.
Oh! Oh! I think what Jalen Brunson does on the court needs to be examined because it's obviously very good. I think, and it's been discussed, but I just think it's underappreciated. Yes, he's the best player, which goes to what Becky Hammon said. And not just Becky Hammon, but thousands of other people have said it, including me. And he won't change the rule. He'll just prove himself an exception to the rule. Because if he's the 3rd guy who's done it in 60 years, well, it's still not something that's done very often. And that is be a small guy, be the best player. But you know what he isn't? He's not the best paid player on the team. And he could have leveraged another 5, 10, 15 million out of him.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but
he's getting $35 million, which is
year as a
nothing.
Player option. Mm-hmm. He can opt out and sign a 4-year, $323 million deal in 2028, or a 5-year, $418 million deal in 29. So by doing what he did, he positioned himself to earn more in the Supermax with this next contract. So he'll make more than he would have.
All true. Super savvy by him. I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't have done it. He did, and it wasn't, to your point, the point you're making here is, did he sacrifice? Yeah, but it's not a super big sacrifice. He sees the payday out there, and he knows he can get it.
He will get it.
But this year, but they may have to let some guys go, and
That's
then
their problem.
won't. And then they won't be a championship team. It is all of that. Okay. It'll be harder to be a championship team because they'll have to let somebody go who's obviously contributing to this one. Maybe they find their champagne, they find some guy at $3 million who fills the role, and they still pull it off.
Who would they let go that would be that big of a deal?
Let me call up the roster. I had this figured out. Hart would be one of them.
I mean, he's okay.
I know, but you need that. You need those guys.
And he's the only one that can give you what he's giving you? I don't think so.
Hold on a second.
I think he can. I got time.
Bridges. It was Bridges and Hart.
Bridges
were the two guys.
is a nice player.
Yeah. Bridges is making $25 million.
Those were the two.
Hart is making $19 million. They both clearly contribute.
But I mean,
and if he was making 15 more, one of them would have to go.
But they're not winning anything on their own.
I just think that what he's done, taking less, even though you're right, he knows he's going to get more in the long run, has enabled them to build a better team around them. And I think you look at the NFL. The top quarterbacks, largely the best guys, are getting paid the most money. We can argue some exceptions there. But the top 10, only 5 made the playoffs. And 5 missed the playoffs. And guys who win in the Super Bowl, the guy who wins the Super Bowl is making like 30 or 35 million, something like that. And in LA, when they won the Super Bowl, their quarterback wasn't paid top dollar. I think he was making 35 or 40,
and they
something
had
like
Aaron
that.
Donald.
Yeah, and so you can put better talent around them. Not taking top dollar pays off.
But
taking top dollar.
Josh Harts and Mikal Bridges of the world, they're journeymen.
But you still need the right journeyman to fit together.
Right, and who's to say you couldn't have gotten the right journeyman? It's much easier to find the journeyman than it is the Jalen Brunsons of the world.
Agreed. Denver thought they could put guys together, and they couldn't. They haven't. Maybe they will again.
Well, you got to look at the situation. When you beat somebody, if Denver is going up against the 80s Lakers, they ain't winning.
Yeah. I get it.
So the timing has to be right.
And the Knicks might take advantage of the Spurs youth, and you can say the timing.
Yeah.
It's easy, and maybe they couldn't have beaten the Thunder, but the Thunder weren't healthy, so they couldn't win, so they got knocked out. Teams catch breaks.
Right, so once you start incorporating the what-ifs, you don't get to decide when the what-ifs end.
Well, sure you do. That's why we're sports fans, and it's fun.
You have to include all the what-ifs. It's the same thing I say with the officiating. Once you incorporate officiating decisions, you cannot pick and choose which ones you like and don't like.
Okay, except at the same time you say that this is the fun of it, arguing about it, and this is the stuff we argue about, and so it's a blast, so you can't argue about it. It's just fun. But I think
argue all you want, but I'm saying you don't get to choose where it stops.
I think the underlying point here to the Knicks is set aside the New York jealousy, which I have as much as anybody. Set that aside. When a team wins 12 in a row and the vast majority of them are blowouts, they're really good and they're doing something right. And on the list of things that are really good, Karl Anthony Towns, great leadership. I loved what he said in the huddle. It played out on the scoreboard. He was right. That's part of being a champion. You're missing shots, which Jordan did in 98 against the Jazz. You got to keep playing. You got to say the right things in the huddle. And you got to know that the reason you win big and win championships is you're doing the big fun stuff, like hitting pressure shots. You got to do that. But you got to do all the little ugly stuff along the way. Jordan would defend like a beast, possession after possession. Kobe would defend like a beast, possession after possession. Everything mattered to those guys. I love that everything mattered to Karl Towns. That's why we should appreciate the Knicks' greatness, because that's part of greatness. And Brunson, he got stepped on. He got fallen into. He was playing through some pain out there. That's part of greatness. He did it. Are the Knicks catching some breaks? Yeah, probably. But so what?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're winning. I like
what Mike Brown said afterward, that we were complaining, only he used the B word, about refereeing too much.
Yeah.
And Brunson's dad, who's on the staff, said, can we stop this?
Yeah.
And that's important.
Part of it, yes.
You can't focus on that stuff.
Yes.
Because you can only focus at one thing at a time. And you got to get away from that. And you're down by 15, but it's the third quarter. In the NBA, unless it's a 20-point lead with 5 minutes to go, or 30 or 40 or something outrageous, you're always in the game.
Stuff can happen. As we saw last night, there were so many runs in that game.
14, 15 points with 18 minutes to go. It's nothing.
The Knicks have the upper hand. The Spurs have the upper hand.
Yeah.
The Knicks have the upper hand. The Spurs have the upper hand at halftime. The Spurs by 14. The Knicks tied the thing up. And then the Knicks go up by 8, and the Spurs drop a 9-0 run and are up 95-94, and they don't score again.
The Spurs body language they had a little flurry at the end of the first half. That bothered me. They were celebrating like they actually did something. It's like a 7-point lead. BFD.
Champagne, it's funny, and you're talking and you're making faces, but it's like you're on a hot streak of threes. I mean, you're 5 of 6. Steph Curry thinks that's a hot streak. And the game is not over. It's like a 5, 6, 7 point game.
That's what I'm saying. I thought they celebrated too much. Let it go. Walk off the floor.
Young team, haven't been in that spot before.
That's probably it.
Yeah. All right. 12 in a row, a bunch of blowouts. They're doing something right. And we're seeing the little things they're doing right as well as the big things they're doing right. There's a whole list of them. And yet, it's still game one. Does it mean they're going to win the series?
It does not. No, not at all.
Not at all. But nonetheless, it's been 12 great games of basketball out of the Knicks. All right, DJ and PK. More on this with Andy Bailey coming up at 8:30. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Welcome to This is Chase Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covers the Grizzlies for the Daily Memphian. He's Drew Hill.
I know there are differences in Memphis between regular season Jaren and playoff Jaren. And what did Grizzlies fans see from Jaren in the biggest games in the playoffs?
I thought it was a great trade for the Jazz. Jaren was not only one of the best players on the Grizzlies, but was also just one of the best people in the locker room. Like, the leadership skills were there for sure. He's going to have games where he's awesome, and then he's going to have some of these games in the playoffs where he's going to leave a little bit to be desired. The Grizzlies thought that they had a player that might be capable of being a number one on a playoff team, and I don't think he quite got to that point for them where they could trust that he was dependable enough in the postseason that you could sit back, give him the ball late in games, and he'd be able to get you bucket. It never really transpired that way.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A lot of people would like to produce our show. They give us ideas for stuff, and you just had a sports fan ask you a question, and you thought, great idea for a segment.
Was golfing down in Arizona, had a wedding down there over the weekend, and got hooked up with a guy. Oh, you guys may like this. He's from Idaho.
Okay.
And he took a job in Arizona, and he said he went to BYU Provo.
BYUP, huh?
He did say that, yeah. And I go, oh, that's probably he's from Idaho.
Is that an Idaho status thing? We got Scotty G in for a ruling.
I
went to BYU.
I have two siblings who went to BYU, Idaho.
So if you live up there, do they just refer to BYU and everyone knows they mean Rexburg?
I think they say it.
They say
BYU.
And they're
Idaho.
also trying to, stick it a little bit to.
He did say it.
Yeah.
And it caught my ear. But if he just said it because that was commonplace for him.
My two siblings who went to school up there, they will call BYU Provo.
Yeah. And so then he drove the ball 340 yards on one hole. And
340?
Yeah. The scorecard said 340 and the GPS thing, and he was
pin high, but off to the side.
The green. Yeah. And there I am, in the desert. I'm going to go 225. I parred the hole. He took a bogey.
2 chips, 2 putts, huh?
So short game lacking.
Or 1 chip, 3 putts.
2 chip.
2 chip, 2 putts.
He was probably 10
I'm not judging.
off.
I've done both, to be clear. I'm just curious.
But to his credit, he walked off. This is really bad.
Well, yeah.
I hit a driver 9-iron. So but get to the 18th hole, and he says, so what sports do you announce? I said, well, it's a talk show. Oh, well, my wife obviously had told him because I didn't tell him. And he said, who was your favorite BYU player to cover?
Ooh. Football or basketball?
He was talking football.
Okay.
Travis Hansen, basketball.
Travis Hansen was a great interview. He was a lot of fun.
He was a gamer.
Yeah.
He's an animal
combination, really good player, really good interview.
Which will lead you to the answer that I said in football, using the same criteria. To me, it's overwhelming.
I always enjoyed, this is a long time ago, but he was really good. He played in the NFL a long time. I always enjoyed interviewing Rob Morris.
I didn't cover Rob Morris.
No. So who have you got?
To me, the equal of Travis Hansen.
Mm-hmm. Max Hall.
No.
Oh, okay.
A level higher.
Steve Young.
I didn't cover Steve Young.
That's like 5 levels higher.
Talked to millions.
I went straight
Steve
to
Young many times. But
I went straight to the NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion.
I was not here in the early 80s.
Sticking in the quarterback realm, was it John Beck?
It was not John Beck. No.
Oh, that was actually who I guessed when we were talking about this off the air. Because John Beck was a good interview.
He was very technical.
He was.
Deep answers. And the thing that I appreciated with John.
Accommodating.
He knew he was the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, you can go to practice,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just stand there making sure every person who wanted to talk to John Beck got the It didn't matter. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He stayed every day.
Yeah.
Because he knew he was the quarterback, and he knew the role that the quarterback was supposed to play, and he made himself available every time.
Yeah. Brandon Dolman?
No.
He was a pretty good interview.
Oh, man. I can't believe you guys haven't gotten this yet.
Yeah, it's your turn.
To me, it's obvious.
It's player, correct? Like
The absolute player, man. He equated the Travis Hansen like ability, attitude, articulation, statements, toughness, greatness.
I'm baffled here. Because the 3 that I would have guessed we've already been through.
I really thought it was going to be Max Hall.
To me, it's overwhelming.
Because you were there for the Max era.
Absolutely.
He was always a good interview. He always spoke his mind. He was always a high-energy interview.
We had a little bond being from Arizona.
Yeah. And you said, didn't you say something to him in a parking lot? And he's like, I don't get you, man, or something like that.
He was riding on a scooter.
Yeah, what'd you say? I can't remember what you said that got
Something
him.
like that.
Yeah, but you just messed around.
I thought you
He's
were
like,
with me. You weren't with me?
I might have been. I don't know if you told me about it so much. I think I'm
No,
with
I
you.
thought you yelled at Max. He was on the scooter or something about me or something, and he responded. I love
might have
Max.
been it.
Max was great.
I know,
Max
that's
was
why I
a
thought
great
it was
overachiever.
And that's why I thought it was going to be Max.
But I'm taking
people
it at
only
a higher
have
level.
the one. People only have the one. You going Taysom Hill?
No.
No, I didn't think so either. Because Taysom was super. Taysom, people may not know this because he's so aggressive when he plays, but he was a very laid back, very quiet interview.
And he wasn't. Also nixed interviews after about 3 minutes. Thanks, guys. Walk off.
He wasn't big into the give and take, and he played in an era when they wanted to shut things down.
No, this guy.
Who? Just say
Okay, I'll give you one more quote.
Okay.
Or one more hint.
Oh, wait a minute. You know, we shouldn't be talking quarterbacks. We should be talking wide receivers, shouldn't we? We should be talking wide receivers.
Okay.
It's Austin
We got stuck on the quarterback
We got
thing.
stuck on quarterbacks. It is obvious. You're right. Austin Collie. And your era also. You're right. There was an era where you talked to more players. You talk to some now,
Austin
and you
Collie.
talk to none in the 90s. I should have never gone to the 90s in the first place. You were on the Utah basketball beat. You weren't at BYU football in those eras.
Magic happens.
Yeah, I get that.
He was and there's several others that at another time in a week or two we can mention.
Yeah.
Magic
Number one,
yeah.
My most favorite was Austin Collie. But there's several other guys I want to mention. We don't have the time now.
All right. DJ and PK, we'll take a break. Stay with us. Andy Bailey's coming up at 8:30. Nick Saban, front and center. We got to get to Nick in our next segment. And it's the KSL Give-a-Thon, Primary Children's Hospital, Intermountain Health, and the KSL family of stations all coming together. More on that coming up next as we kick off the 8 a.m. hour right here on The Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The KSL Give-a-Thon is underway, benefiting Primary Children's Hospital. PK.
What?
They've got stats for me. How awesome is that?
You go, boy.
2025 stats for Salt Lake and the Lehigh campuses combined. Patients benefited from $7.5 million in financial assistance provided by Philanthropy Dollars. That's what we're doing here today. Raising dollars to help folks get the medical care they need. Intermountain has 24/7 access to 240 languages for interpretation, 40 languages in person, and their emergency room saw almost 60,000 patients 59,865. We'll just go with almost 60,000, PK. So a lot of people need your help. 60,000 people raising $7.5 million. We're not going to do all of that today, obviously, but whatever you can do would be appreciated. You can donate online. We're going to have some phone numbers for you. You're going to have some guests throughout the day here on the KSL Sports Zone. Primary Children's has been around since 1922. So anything you can do in the next year over the course of today will be much appreciated. How to donate? You can give online at kslkids.com. kslkids.com. You can also call 801-KSL-KIDS. 801-KSL-KIDS. That's 801-575-5437. And you know all about healthcare crises, PK. Your family has seen it. Fortunately, you had insurance to cover everything, but my family's seen it too. It's pretty hard to go through very long in life without running into something like this with someone in your family.
Oh, yeah, obviously. It doesn't matter what it is, who it is. I mean, health is the number one thing you need to live. It's as basic as that, right?
Okay.
People, you talk about what are you grateful for. I always say I'm grateful for the walk. I couldn't imagine not being able to walk. It's as simple as that, and it is a basic necessity that just brings so much to life, and there's many people who can, and there's so many other things that slow people down and obviously take people's lives. And my wife, very grateful at the time, it was 13 years ago now, had lymphoma, and it was very dangerous and all that stuff, and it was touch and go, and unfortunately it was more go, and she got past it and did the 5-year checkup and everything, and all you do is you just go, oh my gosh, how fortunate are we? Awful to have to go through it, but we got to the other side of it, and there's plenty of people who don't, so you need these types of things, and this is what it's about, man. It's about living your life and saving lives and helping people, and we need more of that than ever, you can argue.
KSLkids.com if you'd like to donate and help the 60,000 people who go through the emergency room in the Salt Lake and Lehigh campuses of Primary Children's Hospital, Intermountain Health. Love your help. KSLkids.com. Donate online or call 801-KSL-KIDS. 801-KSL-KIDS. 801-575-5437.
Yeah, and then this is for the children, too.
Yep.
I had a cousin who died of leukemia at 10, and my aunt and uncle, they literally never recovered.
I believe that. I don't know how you do.
And they had substance issues. My father's brother.
Self-medicating because of the pain of the trauma.
Oh, yeah.
It's a common story. It's a tragic story.
Yeah.
It's a horrific story. And there's just a certain roll of the dice.
Yeah, she was my peer.
Yeah.
And so I was of the same age, and I remember vividly and how difficult it was.
Yeah. And you can go online and donate and help. That'd be great. KSLkids.com. All right, DJ and PK, multiple stories this morning. We're going to talk NBA Finals with Andy Bailey coming up in our next segment. Right now, though, PK, the other big story, had a lot of people testifying on Capitol Hill about the need for some type of federal regulation. And one of the people testifying was Utah defensive end Lance Holtzclaw. Another was former Alabama football coach turned broadcaster Nick Saban. And Yak, let him hear what Nick Saban had to say, at least a snippet of it.
Right now in college football, we have no rules. We have state laws. We have different in every state. We have litigation. The NCAA cannot enforce their own rules because every time they try to enforce the rule, there's a lawsuit. I mean, an example would be Ole Miss's quarterback. They say he can't play next year. He's playing next year because of litigation. So, but this is just the way it is. It's become an arm race. Who spends the most has got the best chance to win. But I think it's a race to the bottom because if you don't spend to win, you lose your fan base and you don't have any revenue.
So what are they going to do? And PK, you think they're going to do something, but it's just going to move the bag back at first base?
Well, I'm not sure that the balance of power is going to change. I think what you want is at least a perception of fairness. And right now, it looks like it could be dangerous where there's been decent programs that could get smothered because they can't compete, because there is this arms race. But at the same time, there's always been an arms race. And then you have some folks that are, well, now you want to limit these players' earnings and so forth. I don't think that that's necessarily it. I don't think that anyone's looking. If someone wants to pay some kid, some quarterback, some whomever, $5 million, so be it. But can we have some type of rules and regulations? You're dealing with sports, and then fairness comes in. And can you set something up that allows it to be a little more equitable? And we view sports as, well, if you do the right things, you have a chance. Well, in colleges, though, there's always been tiers. I don't think there'll never not be tiers. And the Ohio States of the world, using them as the example, Notre Dame, you put them on there, they're always going to have the advantages, no matter what you do, unless you just make it communism completely, I guess, but nobody really wants that. And I don't think most of us are telling the powers that be, let's stop paying these kids, because they were ripped off for many years. I used the example, Van Horn would get no money for kids wearing Van Horn jerseys, or they would have 44 but wouldn't have his name on it. But they bought the thing 44 for their kid because he did love Keith. Yeah. She loved Keith Van Horn and wanted to wear that jersey. And, I use Van Horn because I got to know him so well. And I literally was at multiple apartments inside the apartments of where he lived, and how he tried to, and he had a kid at the time, and he was married, and, he was making the university big money, and it wasn't being reciprocated. And then when he signed the contract, and then he bought a house. He bought a house right up the street from me, actually. And so I got to know, I knew him very well. And I said, man, I can remember being at the multiple apartments where he had versus this house. And he says, yeah, things have changed for me.
Understatement.
Right. And that Huntsman Center, which is empty now comparatively, was packed then. And why was it packed?
Keith. And why is it not packed now? Because they don't have a Keith.
Yeah.
If they get a player up there who's going to be the number 2 pick in the draft, and he's there 4 years, and that won't happen because everything's changed.
Right.
But that would fix it. If Alex Jensen could wave a magic wand and create a Keith Van Horn and an Andre Miller.
But both those guys did come back for their 4th year and showed loyalty to the university when they could have gone. Yeah. And I realize it's different now, but those kids deserve some level of compensation, as did Jimmer. Jimmer's family, his parents and all, they had some financial hardships. And Jimmer, my goodness gracious, you couldn't have paid him enough. It's like the Jordan of the NBA. No matter what you pay Jordan, he's underpaid. Well, the same thing with Jimmer. So I don't think people are saying, let's do away with that. But can we come up with a more sensible way that it's just simply, I go to the Sun Devils. Sam Levitt, he's a hired hand. Okay, I don't begrudge Sam Levitt for going to LSU because he's going to get more money. Well, he had a great thing going in Tempe, and now it's gone. And he'll just be basically a carpetbag dude who was on his way through, and he had a great run, no doubt about it, but he took the most money. Can there be something that can prevent that?
See, that's the thing. Yes, I think there can be. Will it get passed? I kind of doubt it, but it could be. It could be. And the thing is, you like some level of fairness. Ohio State only thinks it's going to be fair, and LSU only thinks it's going to be fair if they can buy Sam Levitt away. And Arizona State's only going to think it's fair if they keep Sam Levitt, right? And to your point, there have always been tiers. At no point in its history has San Diego State ever been on the same tier as Ohio State.
I don't think the Devils have either.
And they're not going to be, right?
Don't expect it.
But
I'm fine with
it's America. So if we work really hard, we should be able to raise ourselves up. And one day, San Diego State went into Columbus and coulda, woulda, shoulda, but didn't. And to have these tiers drawn to say you're in and you're out, that irritates people because there are a lot of schools that have changed their place in college football over time. And I think part of the rules might be, and we'll see, I don't know what the rules are going to be. Part of the rules might prevent that. Allow a Super League
have
or
schools
encourage
really
it.
changed their place?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
You don't think? I think Utah's changed its place in it.
Yeah,
I think
but
if you take a bigger time, Pam,
better, but it hasn't. It's changed its place. I agree with you, but it's never going to be at the top.
I agree. But people want to go from, hey, we were in the bottom of the WAC to we were at the top of the Pac-12. Now at the top of the Pac-12, they still couldn't beat Ohio State and Penn State in the Rose Bowl. There was still clearly a tier to go.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I agree, but they want the right to test themselves even if they fail sometimes.
They'll get that. But you're never going to, and you might even do it, but you're not going to do it consistently.
That I agree with both of those things, but I think there is a worry that if the Feds start drawing lines, what's this going to look like? Is there a 30 or 40 team breakaway where you never get to play them?
Yeah, that's where it's going.
You're on the outside. Okay, well that irritates people because before there was a chance, there was a chance to improve yourself, and like BYU can't get to and sustain the level of fill in. They can't do what Alabama did with Saban, right? But one day when Miami was at the top, BYU took them down, and it was glorious.
And Appalachian State beat Michigan in the Big House. That's going to happen, though.
But if that stuff gets legislated away.
It won't be legislated away. It'll still happen to it, but it's going to be in small doses. That's why you remember it, because it is in small doses.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Ohio State and Michigan are going to remain Ohio State and Michigan largely, and they'll have times they won't be able to sustain it, just like, Texas in a certain part of the country is, Texas. And we have Barry Trammell on. He's like, Texas is only, Texas like once every decade. 8 or 9 years.
Well, that's bad management.
It is. And they're scuffling around. But Texas Tech wants the chance to play Texas and beat them, and you only get to beat them when it's bad management. There are people very close to the University of Utah.
But that's always been that way.
Who love the fact that Utah got to beat USC, but who also acknowledge they only did it because USC had bad management. If USC gets good management, when they get the Pete Carrolls and the John Robinsons and the John McKays,
now they're ready to compete. They just needed 4 years to get to this point.
Yeah, but they don't even get to play Lincoln Riley now because stuff changes. And they'd love to play Lincoln Riley every year and beat him every year. It's glorious when it happens. Just like it was glorious when BYU beat Miami.
But there's always going to be those tiers. Utah took it to the max.
Mm-hmm.
And good for them.
To their max.
Yes, to their max. And it was great. I was there for every one of those games.
Now, there are hardcore Ute fans who
awesome.
are like, hey, there was a time we never thought we were capable of doing that.
Absolutely.
So even now we think, well, they're not capable of doing that, but maybe they are.
No, they're not.
Because they didn't ever think they'd be in a Rose Bowl.
No,
they didn't ever think
they took it to the max.
They didn't think they'd beat USC and Oregon.
That was awesome.
Twice in the same year, back to back.
Great. And when Oregon had bad management, and they took advantage of it. Good. And Utah has a great program. I respect it immensely. Absolutely. They've got everything they need to have a quality program, but they're never going to be Alabama. They're never going to be, and I realize they beat Alabama, and they're never going to be Ohio State. And this is the way it is.
See, to what Nick Saban said is if you don't have the money to invest and then you can't win and then the people stop coming, isn't there a little bit of worry that if something doesn't happen, that could happen to Utah?
What do you mean?
Because, the fans are now used to winning the 10, 11-win seasons.
No, I think they'll be okay there.
If the money changes to the point where you got to work really hard and be really smart to win 8 games or 9 games, is that they're going to get criticized for that. And I bring that up because it's happened at other schools, right? Solich couldn't match what Osborne did, but Solich did a lot more than anybody else has done the last 25 years.
And they made a bad decision.
But he got run.
Yeah.
So if that happens,
but they tasted the ultimate fruit.
Yes, back-to-back national titles, long win streaks.
And so their expectations are through the roof. And in some ways, the world has changed, and they can't keep up to that level. They've slipped. There's no question about that they've slipped. I saw Utah just run them up and down the field in Vegas. It was awesome.
It was.
Utah's program is way better than Nebraska's. I'm only talking – when I say Utah can't get there, using them as the example, I'm talking about 5, maybe 6 or 7. But then they're right there. And that's a great place to be.
5, 6, 7 programs, you're saying. Right?
Yeah. So I am not disrespecting the U of U at all.
Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. Maybe.
And then there may be a little variance there.
Penn State sometimes, but not others.
Well, they had to overcome just a horrific situation, and we'll see what they've got going forward. They may have panicked by getting rid of Franklin less than a year after he's in the playoff. That may be a horrendous move. That may be a bad decision. I mean, Franklin he won a lot of ball games, man. My gosh. So he didn't win the ultimate. Well, let's get rid of him. Oh, brother. And they lost a couple of games this year. And maybe, circumstances. I wasn't close to the program this past season, obviously. But Utah and BYU, they're in great spots. They feel competitive programs. The places are full. They're in a great market where we give virtual year-round attention to their programs. I don't think they could ask for anything more. As a Sun Devil fan, if you told me that I could have the run that Utah's had since they got their bearings in the Pac-12, I'm totally fine with it. Maybe I have a little perspective. I'm not a win-at-all-cost guy. I'm not either you win the national title or it's a bitter disappointment. I don't go there. Because I view it as entertainment. And Utah has put on an entertaining product for many, many years, and I believe they'll put on an entertaining product this year. They'll have a good team. The fans they'll have good times. They go with their families to tailgate and all that. So I look at it I look at Saturdays from like 6 a.m. to midnight. And did I have a great Saturday? I'm not necessarily dependent upon some score by some 20-year-olds to determine whether I had a good Saturday or not.
I just can't kick it off at 6 a.m. 9:30, I'm with you. 9:30. I'll do the last half hour with the picks on the pregame show, and then I'm into the games.
But the reason why I say that is because I know people who get up
100%.
to the campus to secure their places, and they rotate. It's your week to get your butt up there early and set up. That's why I don't do that,
I know those
but
people.
I've seen it.
You're right. Those people are absolutely there.
I mean, Saturday's a work day for me,
right?
And it will be, and thankfully it's a work day because I love doing it.
If you get a 10 a.m. or a 1:30 kickoff, then it's really on early in the morning. But you're right. There are people up there even if they're kicking off in the third or fourth TV window.
I mean, I already got, which is September 12th, I believe it is. I've already got my day planned.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be at LaVell Edwards Stadium, and it's going to be the Arizona Wildcats coming in to play the BYU Cougars. I'm fired up for that game.
It's a good Saturday.
I want to be there.
Yeah. You know it's a good Saturday.
Yes.
And it's September and we're in June.
Right, and I think it starts 1:30 our time.
It does.
So I'll probably get home around 7 or 8 o'clock. By the time I get done, drive back, blah, blah, blah. And what am I going to do? I'm going to turn on Utah, Arkansas.
8:30 kick.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually really good that it's the second and fourth TV window because you need the third TV window to do the post-game stuff you got to do, the interviews, the hopping on a post-game
and I'll
show
write
on the
for
phone.
KSL Sports.
You write something up. You got to drive back.
Yeah.
They scheduled that very well for you.
And then I'll plop my butt down, and I'll be watching the Ute game. Yeah.
DJ PK, well, the thing is, whatever rules they draw up, is it going to enable schools to move up? The way ASU changed their trajectory of their program from the 60s to the 80s.
I would like to think so.
It's kind of been static since then, as you have documented, ups and downs here and there, but it's kind of static.
Yeah.
But they really, just like Utah from...
Since it was static when John Cooper left Tempe to go where?
Ohio State.
I rest my case.
There it is. All right, DJ and PK. When we come back, Andy Bailey joins us, NBA analyst and writer for Bleacher Report, his take on Game 1 of the NBA Finals and where we go from here. Stay with us. Join Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Larry H. Miller Summer Games in Cedar City. Celebrate 40 years of a Utah sports tradition. DJ and PK, the KSL Give-a-Thon is underway to benefit Intermountain Health and Primary Children's Hospital. You can contribute right now. They have so many people going through their emergency room, seeing like 60,000 people. In 2025, they got the final numbers in from last year. Patients benefited from $7.5 million in financial assistance provided by philanthropy dollars. That's what we're doing today, raising money for Primary Children's. You can call right now, 801-KSL-KIDS, 801-KSL-KIDS, 801-575-5437, or log on and donate online at kslkids.com, kslkids.com. There are a lot of kids, and they've got photos of the kids and their bios, an 8-month-old with spina bifida, 12-year-old with severe bilateral cleft lip. There's just on and on. High school graduate with an undiagnosed genetic condition. There's all kinds of tragic stories. You shared one about your family and a cousin with leukemia, PK. There's just tons of stories out there. So you can help right now. Donate online. KSLkids.com, KSLkids.com, or call 801-KSL-KIDS. DJ and PK, we're joined once again by Andy Bailey, NBA analyst and writer for Bleacher Report. Andy, good morning. Game 1 of the NBA Finals in the book. We can't wait to find out what you thought of that game and what you think about this series going forward.
I thought it was a blast, honestly, and thanks for having me, guys. Before we jump into that, I just think it's cool that you guys are doing that fundraiser, too. It's a different hospital, but I had 3 sons who spent time in children's hospitals, and those are pretty amazing places. So, to the finals, I thought it was a great game. I thought it was refreshing to not have to worry about flopping as much as I did last series, and part of that is my fault. I just can't I can't get off that topic. It drives me nuts, but it was nice to not really deal with it. I thought both teams played with a ton of effort and energy, and for a little bit there, and I even tweeted about it, and look, I was one of the fools who looked kind of dumb in hindsight, but when San Antonio went up 13 or 14 or whatever it was, I said something like, well, it's kind of hard to see New York's path in this series, even though I picked the Knicks before it started. They just looked they were kind of overwhelming in the same way they were to the Thunder. They're just big, athletic, and just constant effort. But finally, I think really for the first time all postseason, the experience thing maybe caught up to the Spurs in the fourth quarter, and you could see that the Knicks had been through a lot more battles like this, and specifically Jalen Brunson. And so ultimately, I think the game played out kind of the way I thought it would before the series started. I thought the Knicks would have that edge experience-wise. I certainly wavered from that take in the third quarter, but their just experience and competitiveness proved to be the trump card in that one.
Yeah, I think that when you go with the experience, and we were talking about this, you see them, they're down by those double digits. You still have a quarter and a half to go, roughly. So you're not really seeing a whole lot of panic. I mean, my gosh, just look what they did against Cleveland in the fourth quarter. And you talk about the inexperience of the Spurs, and we were talking about this earlier, that I thought watching the Spurs celebrate with that little flurry at the end of the first half, thinking, guys, what are you doing? You hit a few shots. I mean, they were racing out to half court as if it was one of these, some of these other leagues where you got points if you won a quarter. Like you actually won something. You're going into halftime with half the game to go, obviously, and you're up 7. And I just thought they were expending too much emotion, acting like it was a big deal, where next year, whenever it is, whether it's this series or, we expect them to be in this position for several years to come, I think you're going to see them walk off the floor and not act like such a big deal, like you accomplished something. All you had was a 7-point lead. Whoop-de, good for you, but it's not anything to go be all joyous about. And I thought that was their inexperience, where the Knicks, even though they're losing at that point, they're unfazed.
Yeah, a couple things on that. First of all, I kind of appreciate that the Spurs aren't afraid to show how much this means to them, and specifically Wemby. But I also think that it was pretty illuminating to watch some of the side-by-side comparisons of the way they celebrated the conference finals win and the way the Knicks celebrated it. And the Spurs kind of celebrated it like they'd already won it all, and the Knicks kind of just walked off the court because they knew there was more to come.
Right.
And what you just described was kind of a microcosm of that. The Knicks, the Spurs looked a little too giddy at the end of the first half, and the Knicks, by the same token, did not look rattled to be on the other end of that. And then the other thing is, specifically with the Knicks, getting out in front of your skis a little bit is more dangerous against them than it is against other teams. And I can't remember who posted it, and I can't remember the exact time frame, but I think it was the Jalen Brunson era of Knicks basketball. There's something like, I think it said 6-6 when they're down 14 in the second half of playoff games. And in the same stretch, every other team in the NBA is 10-100 in that same scenario when you get down 14 in the second half. So there's just something about Brunson and this entire team that they're just not, they're not rattled by big deficits in the second half. He's a huge part of that. I think his supporting cast is awesome at supporting him. But yeah, you cannot get ahead of yourself with this Knicks team. This run that they're on is crazy. at this point. And a big part of it is they just they stay in the pocket, they stay settled down, and eventually they start landing some of those blows and kind of pulled away by the end of this game. It was another double-digit victory. And I was just looking at the box score before we got on. The Spurs only won one quarter in that game. And really, the Knicks jumped out to a quick lead, so you could say the Spurs won like an 8-minute stretch in the first quarter. And then obviously they had the good stretch in the third too. But the Knicks, in a lot of ways, controlled the game and certainly controlled the end of it. And I think they're in pretty good shape now.
See, it's funny. I didn't think the Knicks controlled the game offensively. I thought they controlled it defensively.
Right.
Harper got hot in the first quarter. That's why they won the first quarter. Champagne got hot in the second quarter. That's why San Antonio, after giving away the lead, had the halftime lead because he hit 5 3-pointers. That's who was dancing around, the PK was referring to, and I'm right with you guys on that. That was way too much celebration, 7-point game in the second quarter. So what? Nobody really got going for him in the second half, but they did have a 9-0 run and take the lead at 95-94. I don't think the Knicks were in control in that moment. It felt like it was slipping away. That's why the game was so epic. There was so much back and forth. I think you said like 10 things I want to react to, Andy. That was such a great. So, first off, I think flopping's always a big deal. I think people make a bigger deal in Oklahoma City because there's generally a feel in the league that Seattle should have never lost the team. Oklahoma City shouldn't have the team. They shouldn't have all these good teams. And big markets hate it when little markets win. And there's way too many New York honks in the national media who are getting all weepy because it's their team, and they're whining. And there's also an L.A. honk in the media who's whining about him all the time also. And I think Brunson flops. He was complaining for fouls. He was, in the words of Brian Dunseth, who I called soccer games with, he was pulling up the landing gear and falling down, which I've heard Steph Curry does it too, but people say Steph does it so he doesn't turn an ankle. It's easier to fall down, but it does leave the team 5-on-4 going the other way defending, which can be a problem if the other team's savvy enough to take advantage of it. I thought that Karl Anthony Towns getting in a huddle and telling guys, hey, the offense comes and goes, and it'll be like Cleveland. We'll figure it out, but we have to keep defending. San Antonio only got 95 points. Now, some of that's missing open shots. Fox missed at least 2, maybe 3 good looks at 3 early. He was 0 for 3 early from 3. Maybe one of them wasn't a great look, but 2 of them were. But I thought they took away layups and dunks, and they made Wemby make free throws, and they fouled guys on breakaways so the crowd can't erupt, even if you get the points at the free throw line. The momentum's not the same. I thought it was a really savvy performance by the Knicks. Part of their savviness is good fortune. They didn't celebrate leaving the floor in Cleveland because it was 4-0, and Cleveland was a broken team in Game 2. The Knicks knew they were going to win this series for a long time, whereas the Spurs took down the champs by winning 6 and 7 and winning a pretty wild game on the road. So I get it, but it does play into their immaturity. They were played a tougher hand, and it did play into their immaturity.
Yeah, I think, speaking of making a lot of good points in one go, you just did that as well. I think you make some maybe New York didn't ever have great control of the game, and the way you broke down the runs was good, but I would say that they never lost control either.
That's true.
And it was, I think it was because of their defense, which you also mentioned, and you brought up Cat, and Brunson's going to get most of the attention, and Josh Hart has understandably gotten a lot of attention. I love the way he plays. I love how hard he plays without, he checks so many boxes without scoring. But the guy who may have had the biggest impact was Karl Anthony Towns, and it was on the defensive end. I wrote about what he did after the game, and I watched every single shot that Wemby took when Towns was his primary defender, and he was 2 of 12 in that scenario, and he made his first shot on Towns the very start of the game. So he was 1 of 11 after that. And every shot was tightly contested. He stuck with him on whatever moves Wemby was trying to pull. The one that he did make late was, I won't say it was lucky, but it was an and one, and he just kind of flipped it up and it went in. His defense was fantastic, and it was a big part of the Knicks not losing control of that game. I think you can point to stuff that a bunch of different guys did. Bridges didn't have a big box score game, but he was good defensively. Anunoby hit some massive shots late. Shehan has suddenly become this invaluable bench player, seemingly every time he's out there. But specifically last night, I think Cat was the biggest performer, and I think this whole postseason is really interesting for me because he's been kind of a punching bag in the playoffs. over the years. And this postseason, he's been fantastic. He's been one of their best playmakers. His defense has been better. His fouls have been a little bit better. He's just been awesome. I think he's a huge part of this run for them.
I'm going to use a comparison of a Spurs player as it relates to the Jazz in the draft, and you'll see what I'm getting at here in a second. I think that in conversation, I think the Jazz are growing more comfortable with the thought of bringing on Darren Peterson onto their team if it comes to that. They still got 3 weeks to go, so things can happen. I'm not reporting that they are going to take Darren Peterson. I am saying that they're growing more comfortable with the idea of taking him. And as I watch the Spurs with the number 2 pick last year, Dylan Harper, and having him being a rookie and having a nice game in game 1, the future is very bright for this young man. But in my conversations, I was talking with someone, and I think what I've been able to watch of Darren Peterson and Harper, and we talked about it, we knew the Jazz obviously were going to be in the lottery a year ago, so we ended up at DJ and myself end up watching Rutgers. I watched more Rutgers basketball last year than I'm going to watch in my entire life, because I knew obviously they had 2 players, and they ended up getting one of them, clearly in Ace Bailey. And so with that in mind, we're watching. I have a Wooden Award vote also, so I pay attention to the top guys, and BYU and Utah are in the same league. So I end up watching Peterson, and plus you can see them now on these other competitions even before they get to college. So my statement, a long way of saying, I think that Darren Peterson can be better than what Dylan Harper is right now. Get your evaluation of that assessment.
I don't think that's too crazy. First of all, Dylan Harper has been unbelievable in the playoffs.
Right.
And this is kind of a backtrack at this point, but we talked about inexperience, and I think one of the guys who really showed inexperience last night might have been Mitch Johnson, the Spurs coach, because to not close with Harper was almost inexplicable to me. So now that I say that, it is kind of a high bar to think that Darren Peterson, by the time the next postseason rolls around, could be as unflappable as Harper has been in this postseason, or at least it seems like a high bar. But I think he might have that same sort of approach to big moments. Now, he was knocked out of a lot of them in this college season, and I think there's a lot of fair questions about why and if that stuff will continue to the NBA level. But as you said, I think as teams do their homework on him, if they feel comfortable thinking that they can get through the health things or the mental barriers, whatever it was that knocked him out of some of those games, he has had a lot of moments in his very young basketball career where he rises to the challenge and looks like the best player on the floor against very good competition. It's not easy to be a rookie guard in the NBA and look like a veteran through a run to the finals. And the chances of Utah going on a deep playoff run are pretty slim, obviously. But your overarching point that he can be a very good guard right off the bat, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think he has a chance to be very impactful right off the bat, and that's going to help. It's not really revelatory at this point. Like, it's almost becoming trendy to say that the Jazz are going to be pretty good next year, and I think Peterson would absolutely help with that. The thing about being number 2 in this particular draft, I think Utah's going to be pretty good regardless of who they take there, and I think regardless of who it is, he's going to make an impact on that.
Right. Yeah.
So PK always says we got to talk about the NBA playoffs through the eyes of what does this tell us about the Jazz? And now he does it with the Stanley Cup playoffs. What does it tell us about the Mammoth? So with that in mind, watching Wemby, if he's in the paint, offensively or defensively, your odds of winning and beating the Spurs are terrible. It might happen, but they are not good odds. If you can move him to the perimeter, he still might beat you up pretty bad, but you at least have a fighting chance. You got to be physical with him, but you have to be mobile enough that you can be physical with him 25 feet from the hoop. And we saw in Oklahoma City, Hartenstein did a good job of battling, and Wemby had some bad games. Had some great games, but had some bad games. His best game, they didn't have Hartenstein on him in game 1. They tried to get cute and go with someone smaller, and they got beat up really bad, and they stopped doing that right away. So with that in mind, do the Jazz have to add a backup center who can play the way Nurkic did at the top of the game, whether it's Nurkic or somebody else? Do they have to have somebody who can go play beyond the three-point line and pull Wemby away from the hoop because they need Kessler's shot blocking? In a lot of playoff series, he'll be the guy, but in a playoff series with San Antonio, and you may not even have that series, but if you do, you better have somebody else because he's not the right matchup based on the way what we saw Karl Anthony Towns do in Game 1 and what we saw Hartenstein do in the Western Conference Finals. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to have depth all over the roster, including in the front court. What I would say about Utah, where they're maybe sort of ahead of the curve, they have multiple guys who can play that center position, and they have multiple guys who can play it in different ways. And if you have Triple J at the 5, you need everybody else on the floor to rebound because he's a pretty bad rebounder. But I think he checks that box that you just brought up about being able to chase Wemby on the outside, and I actually think he might be better at that than just about anybody in the league. He's a very mobile defender on the perimeter, and I think maybe even Markkanen could chase him around a little bit on the outside. And then at the same time, you have the ability to go with the more traditional interior center like Kessler. I think there's already a lot of versatility in that Jazz front court. And 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit more, there was a lot of talk about the depth of the center position, and that turned out to be pretty short-lived because I think size and athleticism are super important now. And the Jazz, again, I think they're ahead of the curve. I think they have size and athleticism. If they add Devonta or Peterson to this group, they can play some huge lineups that don't really give up a ton of mobility. And even if you're worried about, okay, Markkanen's going to have to play the 3, and he's probably going to be beat off the dribble by some guys at that position, you have two absolute erasers waiting on the back line in Kessler and Triple J, either together or, you could stagger those two pretty significantly. And I think there's already a lot of lineup or potential lineup versatility with this team, and they could be one of the better Wemby and Spurs matchups over the next few years. It seems kind of funny to say that about a team that's been so bad wins and losses wise over the last few years, but I think they're going to be able to flip a switch pretty quickly at this point.
Andy, I'm known for off-the-wall questions, and you got Wyoming in your background. I've always felt that if they would have put the state's flagship university in Wyoming in Jackson instead of Laramie, they would be a national power.
Oh, well, I was just in Jackson a week ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. That really is an unbelievable part of the country, and Laramie's beautiful too. But you get some kid from California or Texas or another warm climate, and they come and visit Laramie in the winter. That's going to be a turnoff for a lot of guys. It's pretty cold.
I go up to Jackson every year. I'll be up there in a couple of weeks, and boy, and I go in the summer, obviously. Although I've been a couple of times in the winter, and it is spectacular.
Yeah, I usually drive up from the south because I'm in Cheyenne, but I was there for work with my brother, and he said, you need to take the northern route home where you drive in front of the Tetons for a few miles. And I hadn't done that in forever, and it is spectacular. It's just a beautiful drive.
Can you imagine what the state legislature in Wyoming would have to pay faculty and staff to live in Jackson Hole and what they get to pay them? Because
they live in Driggs, Idaho.
Everybody lives in Driggs and drives over the mountain.
Yeah. We'd have a bunch of legislators coming from out of state.
Yeah. Andy, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the finals, and we will talk to you again before the draft, I'm sure.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Andy Bailey, NBA analyst and writer for Bleacher Report, join us right here on The Zone. Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports National College Football writer, will join us at 9 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on the Big 12. Our spring football tour continues with him coming up in about 15 minutes right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, we're broadcasting live. We're downstairs in Studio A now, PK.
I feel more important today.
KSLkids.com. That's the place to go online to donate to support the mission of Children's Hospital. As Andy Bailey pointed out, there are children's hospitals everywhere. We're talking about Primary Children's here in Utah today. KSLkids.com. They see over 60,000 people in the emergency room, provide more than $7.5 million of financial aid thanks to philanthropy. That's what we're working on today. They've given us this sheet with the pictures of all the adorable kids, from infants to teenagers. And they're dealing with all kinds of stuff. Spina bifida, uses a wheelchair. Max injured in a motocross. Lucy went to the ER with a headache, diagnosed with a stroke after a consultation.
Gosh, you're kidding
So
me.
part of what they do, I did not know this. I just read this prepping for today. One thing Primary Children's provides, if you're in southern Utah or rural Idaho, there's a telestroke network. And so this girl, Lucy, had what do you think, 15 maybe? Went in with a headache, a really bad headache. They were able to diagnose a stroke. And then a doctor who may not see this all the time, might not have as much experience or expertise, can consult with a doctor in Salt Lake at Primary Children's, who maybe has focused their whole career on this and just knows way more.
Right. Experts.
And Lucy gets better care, and now Lucy's doing well. And so all of this stuff takes money and resources. So anything you can provide right now, make a donation to support a kid like Lucy, who now apparently is doing really well. After getting that real-time access to stroke experts at Primary Children's Hospital. Cole is a 12-year-old spina bifida in a wheelchair. They just go on and on with the kids and stories. Ellie Tibbs, who, I don't know, what do you think? It's got to be younger than 2, right? Right there?
Yeah.
Liver transplant. So they're just seeing people having all kinds of issues, as you might expect. You're dealing with the whole Intermountain West, people relying on Primary Children's. So anything you can do to help, 801-KSL-KIDS. Call right now, 801-KSL-KIDS, or go to KSLkids.com and donate online.
I'm always big at making a difference at the ground level. Mm-hmm. I talk about that. This is the ground level. You make a difference literally at this level, which is the ground level, which I think, in my own personal opinion, is the most important level to make a difference, because that's where it starts, and then it changes lives upward.
So if I follow you around town, will I see the bumper sticker on your car, think globally, act locally? That's kind of what you're saying. At least act locally.
Deep. That's a little too deep for me. I'm not that deep.
4 words. It's just way too much. Just got to stick to 2.
Right.
All right. 801-KSL-KIDS. Call and donate right now. 801-KSL-KIDS, or go to KSLkids.com. When we come back, Jeyarajah, CBS Sports national college football writer on the Big 12. What does he think? We will find out next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk college football now with CBS Sports national college football writer, Shehan Jeyarajah. Shehan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I am curious, as you look at the Big 12, we've been doing a spring football tour. We've been talking to people who cover the different teams, and you probably read what a lot of people are writing out there, both nationally or locally or regionally. Anybody that people are way too high on? Anybody that people way too low on? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. I think that there's a clear, for me at least, top 2 in Texas Tech and BYU in whatever order that you want. But really, I mean, after that, it is a total crapshoot, right? For me, when I look at the Vegas odds, for example, I mean, Kansas State is ranked up there as the number 4 or number 5 team in Big 12 title odds. And while I think that they have a chance to be pretty good under first-year coach Colin Klein, that's a lot of expectation for a team that replaces a whole lot on the defensive side of the ball and at wide receiver. So that's a team that I probably would consider myself a little bit lower on than what the consensus seems to be. Oklahoma State on the other side of things, right? I mean, they're obviously a team that went 1-11 last year, but they imported the entire offense from North Texas. They did a really good job of identifying trench talent in the transfer portal. This is a team that I absolutely could see pushing into the 8 or 9 win range. And if some things break right for them, maybe crashing the Big 12 title game.
Just go generally. You've already mentioned 3 teams there with the ones you just mentioned, obviously, with the BYU and Texas Tech leading. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But who do you think has an opportunity to get to go at least minimally 6-3 in the conference? Because if you go 6-3, more than likely, it's not like you're going to go into November and win 4 games. So you're not going to be basically where I'm getting at was when you get into the first week in November, you probably are in contention if you end up 6-3. Even if you in 6-3 probably wouldn't get you to the title game. We understand that. But my thought being, if you have an opportunity to get to 6 wins in November, you probably have maybe an opportunity to get to 7 or 8, which could put you in contention. So just use 6-3 as a baseline. The teams that you think can go minimally 6-3.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Oklahoma State, like I mentioned, if some things break right for them, could be in that conversation. I think that a very undervalued team right now, too, is TCU. TCU, of course, loses their quarterback, Josh Hoover, to Indiana, but they felt like they did a really good job of replacing him, bringing in Harvard transfer Jaden Craig. Jaden Craig is somebody who's been on NFL radars before. He does a great job. One thing that the staff will point to, too, is that he takes good care of the ball, which has been an issue the past couple of years at TCU. And they hope that the addition of offensive coordinator Gordon Samus can help revitalize a running game that really has been one of the most fundamental issues for TCU these past couple of years. So they're a team I think can certainly get into 6-3 range. I think that Utah, with the way that their schedule lines up, it's a pretty realistic possibility that they could be in the 6-3, 7-2 range as well. Now, of course, they replace a lot from their 2025 team, especially along the offensive line. And it's a new first-year head coach in Morgan Scalley. But I think that that's a team that certainly has the ability to be at 6-3. And look, I mean, there are multiple other teams that I think have a chance to crash the conversation. Arizona certainly is one that I think, that they finished with 9 wins last year. Houston, outside of the top 2, might be the team that most people are highest on in the Big 12. And I've heard talking to people that the addition of running back Mekhi Hughes is something that people are really undervaluing. This is a player who rushed for more than 1,400 yards in his first 2 seasons before kind of falling out of the rotation at Oregon. They feel like he is back and ready to go at Houston. So that's a team that, again, not only can they get to 6-3, I think that they can absolutely push 10 wins in a Big 12 title game appearance.
There were 6 teams that made it to 6-3 last year. Houston was one of them. Of the other 5, they only played 2 of them, Texas Tech and Utah. They miss out on all the other schools. And Texas Tech they might get without an established quarterback. I mean, we thought Tech had 2, but if Sorsby's suspended, which I think he will be, and if Hammond isn't healthy, it seems like he might be his first game back, so maybe he'll be there. I mean, in these big leagues, sometimes teams catch a break. Like Houston, you're catching a break here. Can you cash in on it?
No, absolutely. And schedule with these 16-team conferences, like you mentioned, is kind of everything. And in fact, for example, even without Brendan Sorsby in the lineup, it's why I still have Texas Tech pretty easily making it back to the Big 12 title game. They don't play either of the Utah schools this year. So I think that again, with Houston, like you mentioned, that's a prime opportunity for them to steal a game in week 3. It's also, by the way, a Friday game. It's also a game that, by the way, Texas Tech actually kind of complained about it being so early because they play Oregon State very late in week 2 and have to travel back. So it's kind of a short week for them, whereas Houston gets a pretty good tune-up opportunity. Will Hammond should probably be back for that game, but there's a pretty good chance that it's his first start at Texas Tech as the full-time starter. So a lot, I think, lines up well for Houston in that spot. And look, their schedule this year, Houston's, is more difficult than it was in 2025. They managed to get to 10 wins last year. And look, I think that they were probably a little bit less than a 10-win quality team. This year, I think that with the additions that they've made, with the experience that they bring back, second-year starting quarterback, second-year defensive coordinator, really good offensive line, like this is a year where they're going to have a team that's of the quality of pushing for 10 or 11 wins.
See, now I thought that if Cody Campbell and McGuire were really serious about Texas, they should say, okay, here's the deal. We're so good. We'll play Houston on that Friday, and then Saturday we'll go to Austin and play you there.
Well, listen. I think that this is a prime opportunity for Texas Tech to put itself back in the headlines, right? With everything that's gone on with their conversations with the University of Texas. And look, as somebody down here in the state, people are talking about it. Texas fans obviously are not happy with the way the narrative is kind of headed. And of course, Joey McGuire challenging them to reschedule their games in week 1. And they're trying to find sort of technicalities like, oh, well, you wouldn't come down to Austin. You wouldn't cancel this or that game. You wouldn't buy out Ohio State, whatever else. I think it's been great offseason content. But yes, I don't think that they're going to play in consecutive days.
That kind of reminds me, though, knowing that Texas isn't going to do it, the guy who charges the mound, but he does it really slow so a bunch of his teammates can get in the way, or, in basketball, hold me back, when I really want no part of the guy who I want them to hold me back. Now, I know Texas Tech wants a part of it, but the point I'm making is they're saying these outlandish things knowing that it's probably not going to happen anyway, so that makes them look good, and it sort of makes Texas look bad.
No, I mean, I had a friend who went to Texas who texted me and was like, this is so clearly just a PR stunt. And I'm like, heck yeah, it is. Like, It is working. It's getting everybody talking. It's showing Texas Tech as a program that wants to not be scared and wants to play, and they're calling Texas scared. And by the way, yes, for one, I mean, I think Texas would beat them this year. Let's be clear about that, right? Especially without Brendan Sorsby in the lineup. I think Texas has a better team. I think Texas has a really good case to be number 1 in the country heading into the year. But it's not really about that, right? It's more about saying, we're going to stand up. We're going to fight for ourselves. We're happy to be in your head. And again, I think that Joey McGuire, even like everybody has paid attention to him these last 2 years with Texas Tech, obviously elevating themselves to a national power. But he has been loud, he's been vocal, he has fought for Texas Tech since he got there in fall of 2021. I give him a lot of credit. I think that he understood something about the Texas Tech fan base that I don't even think that they understood themselves.
You mentioned Oklahoma State turning things around. The rest of the bottom of the league, should Utah and BYU and whoever else be looking at Baylor and Kansas coming off 3-win seasons, Central Florida and West Virginia coming off 2-win seasons, Colorado a 1-win season? Should they just look at them as easy targets, and this is where you pick up the doubles and make sure you're bowl eligible and get yourself in the hunt? Or can any of those teams turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, look, there are going to be a few teams that I think will be at the bottom of the conference. I'm not very high on Colorado, to be frank. Iowa State just replaces so much, though I think that Jimmy Rogers is a really good coach. I think, maybe by the end of the year, they could have some stuff figured out. But almost anybody else in the conference has a pathway to some interesting stuff, right? You mentioned Baylor coming in, DJ Lagway, the former number 3 overall recruit in the class of 2024. They're really excited about what he's brought. And they also, by the way, bring in Joel Klanderman at defensive coordinator, who did a great job at Kansas State over the course of multiple years. So Baylor's a team that absolutely could pop up. Cincinnati, obviously, they lose Brendan Sorsby to Texas Tech, and obviously now to suspension, but they have one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12 that nobody's talking about. They have multiple players who have a chance to be all Big 12 or even maybe all America selection. So don't be surprised if they also overperform. I mean, when you look at the Big 12 right now, this is a league that top to bottom is just so tough. I mean, the gap between let's call it the 5th best team and the 13th best team is smaller than just about any conference in college athletics. So, look, I think BYU especially, they should maybe be half a step ahead of the field. Utah, maybe, a quarter of a step ahead of the field. But any given week, any given time, these are teams that absolutely have the ability to jump up and bite at your ankles.
How do you think Nick Saban's message in the hearing was received?
It's interesting, right? I was having some conversation with sources the past couple of days, and one thing that kind of keeps coming up is man, Nick Saban brings so much credibility. That's the reason that he's involved in all these conversations. But this is a coach who really has hardly even coached in the NIL era and doesn't even necessarily know what's going on in modern college football. I think that, certainly, again, every senator, every staff member is thrilled to get to take their photo with Nick Saban after the hearings. But you look at the people who are talking at these hearings, and no shade to them, but like they aren't really the people who are all that invested or maybe even able to fix a lot of what's wrong with college athletics. I mean, I know there was a representative player from the University of Utah, but like it's just a different type of deal to have a really good player come and speak on behalf of student athletes compared to like Arch Manning going and speaking on behalf of athletes, or some of like, the people who are most impacted by these dynamics, Trinidad Chambliss, for example. Like, that's what I think makes it very difficult whenever you hear these hearings as somebody who covers college athletics, is that you're just not really talking at this point to the primary stakeholders. The primary stakeholders at this point are the big-time coaches, our general managers, our big-time players who are commanding a lot of money, especially in the transfer portal. And also, I think that you have to start looking at collectives. I think you have to start looking at these multimedia rights partners that have done a huge amount to try to build contracts and help programs pay out more money to their athletes through NIL deals. Like, these are the people who actually run college football right now, and none of those people at this point are on the stands.
If they do something that really flattens the odds, makes things more competitive, which is what baseball's talking about, pro sport, not college, I think that's going to irritate the schools that have had all sorts of financial and institutional advantages for decades, if not a century. But if they don't do that, it's going to irritate a lot of schools that incorrectly or correctly view themselves as up-and-comers. I don't see how they're going to please everybody. Somebody's going to scream foul. People are always trying to get around the rules. That's the only constant in college sports for the last 100 years. I realize people think that there could be some answer out there and the federal government could give it. I think they're moving the bag back. There's just going to be whatever they decide, there's going to be a beef about that after they decide it, and I wonder how much is going to be set in stone if they decide something.
Well, I think that you only have to look as far as look at who has come out against this new bill. And it's the Big Ten and the SEC, right? So like you said, there's kind of two visions for college football right now and college athletics. One is one that ends up being more egalitarian, that tries to even the field a little bit, to make the sport more competitive top to bottom. And the other side of it is one that empowers the people who make the most money. Right now, we're in that latter era. And look, I mean, the SEC and Big Ten, especially SEC schools, by the way, are trying to make the case like, no, we want to fix this system. We want to make things, not as disparate. We want to end the arms race, all this sort of stuff. But like the irony of it, right, is that especially let's for a second take a look at SEC schools outside of Texas and Texas A&M, right? A lot of them financially can't compete with Big Ten schools. Because you look across the Deep South, there isn't necessarily that level of money that you find in Chicago, in Milwaukee, in Madison, in these big metros, right? Like the South is a local group. The North is filled with big-time metros. And so the SEC, especially those middle-tier schools, are trying to crack this balance of let's try to pull down the Big Ten schools, but let's not ruin our advantage that we have against everybody else. So like you said, we're running into these existential issues where we talk about the idea of you're ultimately going to screw over somebody in the process, and everybody is trying to avoid it being them.
Utah's been in the news with this private equity thing, and then the thing came out, the Tribune had it, others picked it up on the possibility of layoffs coming up at the end of the month, and the folks will have to reapply for their jobs and reduction in force and all that. And it's been out there nationally now. What do you think the national perception of it is?
Well, I think the short of it is, like, this is what people were concerned about when Utah entered into a private equity agreement, right? Is that private equity's job is to lower costs as much as possible and maximize profit as much as possible. And there's a lot of stuff that exists in college athletic departments that isn't just supposed to exist for the reason of making as much money as possible, right? I mean, even if you want to get into the idea of non-revenue sports, right? Like, they've historically existed as a way to maximize student opportunity and do sort of more of a social good than necessarily just make as much money as possible. And so this is kind of that first step with the reduction of force stuff. Again, what we'll kind of be curious to see what ultimately gets cut, what staffers get cut. and this isn't unique, right? So whenever Trev Alberts took over at Texas A&M, he did a massive reduction of force. He said that the athletic department was too bloated. That wasn't pushed by an outside group. That was pushed by a new athletic director coming in. But again, this is sort of the thing that everybody worries about and warns about, is that private equity is not going to be precious with a lot of what you already have there. And you just have to understand that you're letting that in when you make those partnerships.
To me, the question here in the short run is, are they going to eliminate 20 jobs in the athletic department but create 20 jobs over in this new entity, or are they going to eliminate 25 jobs in the athletic department and create 10 over here in the new entity? And they're saying people will be allowed to reapply for essentially their new job in this new business. Good luck with that. I think a lot of people have been out there, looking for jobs, kind of roll their eyes at the thought that they somehow get hired over there. Maybe one or two people will, but doesn't seem likely.
No, it's a challenge, and it's something that, again, if you are an existing staff member of the Utah Athletic Department, like, you just don't necessarily know what that means for you, right? Because there's obviously, there's people who do sort of essential roles, right? But like, will a private equity independent organization care about keeping stats and records the same way that an athletic department might? We don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, we do. Again, we do. We do know the answer to that question. That was rhetorical, what you did. We do know the answer to that question.
Well, and therein lies the challenge, right? There's going to be a lot of things that are normal college athletic stuff that we're going to have to figure out if they have any interest in trying to replicate, or if Utah is just going to kind of live in its own little world in that way.
Having worked for private equity 10 or 15 years ago, I can tell you from experience, the first thing they care about is getting their bonuses. So that doesn't mean making money. That means making gobs of money so they can get a bonus.
You owned a private equity company, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh.
I definitely did not.
That's right. You was your brother.
This is a program, part of the program where PK lies to entertain himself, Shehan, in case you didn't know. You usually get
Can I hold $1?
PK.
If you got a few more lying around, I'll happily take some.
Well, we'll be down there broadcasting in Plano or Frisco next month, so we'll throw you some cash.
Hey, we got Texans pronouncing it Plano and Plano. Which is it?
It's Plano. It's Plano. It's
Plano.
It's Plano.
Yeah, I know it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, got that sorted
But
out.
it's Frisco where we're going to be.
Frisco. John, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for coming in and talking a little Big 12 football. And it's about a month to media days now, so away we go.
Looking forward to seeing you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Shehan Jeyarajah. Joining us, he is a CBS Sports national college football writer and a regular guest here on the show. We appreciate him coming on.
He'll have the electric lit-up sport coat, so you know it's him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he learned. I don't know how he learned to stumble into it or what, but yeah, that's how he rolls into media days and press boxes.
And some guys can get away with it.
Yeah.
There's no way I could. He can.
Confidence. You got to walk the walk.
He wears it well, I got to admit.
Yep. All right. Well, you can read him, and both PK and I do. CBS Sports. Go to cbssports.com. You can check out his work. He's a prolific writer, PK. He's grinding out stories. I see multiple stories from him on the website on a routine basis.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's doing the job, and I know he loves doing it. I talked to him several times, and, being in Texas there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of college football, right?
It's football, and then football, yeah. And then occasionally, if the Rangers win the World Series, we'll give you some time. If the Mavericks win or the Stars in hockey, we'll give you some time. But
and
it's
then
football.
right back to football,
Yeah.
right? But to your point, because he's surrounded all that football, even if he's covering the Big 12, even if he's not covering one of the G5 leagues nearly as much, he's still paying attention to North Texas. And sure enough, they have a big year, and now they're coaching quarterback at Oklahoma State. So that's why we love to have him on the show to speak to that, because we know he was paying attention.
Well, I think if you're looking at the surprise team, it is right now the favorite is Oklahoma State.
Are they such a surprise team they can't be a surprise team?
Not yet, but I get your point.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about them, but they still have to do it out on the field. And if they do it out on the field, then they deserve all that attention.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you why we're broadcasting live downstairs today instead of up on the second floor. KSLkids.com. If you want to donate right now, go online and help out Primary Children's Hospital and all the kids they're working with. 60,000 people going through their emergency rooms. That's a lot of people going through. We'll get to that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
For Jazz fans, it's been a rough few years. Well, those days are behind us as the Utah Jazz finally struck gold in the NBA Draft Lottery. Picking second. As the Jazz prepare to draft a potential superstar with the number 2 overall pick. Nobody will bring you better coverage of the NBA Draft than the KSL Sports Zone. For all the breaking news, high-profile interviews, and player analysis leading right up to draft night, keep it locked on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Back live in San Antonio, and a fool on the court with a cell phone and a night in jail. Off he goes, very quickly escorted out of here by 3 security guards, including one wearing a cowboy hat. Up top, Anunoby, a straight on 3. Too strong, rebound, tipped by Brunson out to Bridges' right wing. Brunson's open, right corner, 3-pointer. It's good! Jalen Brunson puts the Knicks in front with a clutch 3-pointer. 1:50 to go. They're up by 2. Brunson holding it just across midcourt, defended by Vassell. 8 to shoot, right wing, crossover, right elbow, step back, pump fake, leans in, throws it up, and he knocked it down. Jalen Brunson, a ridiculous shot, and the Knicks have a 6-point lead, 38 seconds to go.
Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Highlights from Game 1. Knicks with another double-digit win. I got to say, I know that it's easy just to say, well, that's 12 in a row, and that's 10 of 12 by double digits. But that didn't feel like a double-digit win. It was a one-point game, right, and they were trailing pretty late in the fourth quarter. But give them credit. They made the big plays. The whole cliche, you always want to play the perfect game and be awesome and dominate, but that coaching cliche, just make one more play than the other guy. Just win the game. You get these series, one win is one win, whether you win by 1 point or 41 points. So they got the Game 1 win. It's 12 in a row. And how much can they shake the confidence and the belief of a young team?
Yeah, I don't know how much belief that young team does have, though, because they've never been there, whereas the New York Knicks, I mean, they haven't been there at this level, but compared to San Antonio, they have. San Antonio's days are to come, better days are to come. New York, the time is right now. This is a veteran team, veteran coach. The Spurs are just the opposite. It's a young team, young coach. Yep. And I think that was the difference. Now, does that mean they're going to win the series? No, I never jump to conclusions based on one game, particularly the first game. But, obviously Friday night will be a
big game for the Spurs.
Serious opportunity. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, Monday at the Garden, New York, the whole area.
So a lot of people,
amazing.
And we got into this earlier in the show, a lot of people don't like New York. There's jealousy, right? New York's the biggest and all that kind of stuff.
New York represents who we all are as Americans.
Set aside the team, any team that win 53 years without winning a title, the Knicks have the 5th longest stretch in the NBA without winning a title. This fan base has waited a long time, literally the entire life of most of their fan base, right? I mean, if you were 7 years old when they did it last time, maybe you remember it, you'd be 60 now. But everybody 60 and under doesn't remember it, and even some of the people in the 60s may not remember it. This is such a big deal to a fan base that's never had it. And the Jazz came along 1 year after the Kings. So basically, granted, New York's way bigger than Salt Lake City, right? The tri-state area is way bigger than the Wasatch Front in the state of Utah. But as far as waiting, the fan base has been through the same amount of torture, getting their hopes up, getting beat, getting their hopes up, getting beat, then not being anywhere near it with the rebuild that's going on, then getting their hopes up and getting beat. So they've been through it. They ought to be going crazy. If it happened here, we'd be going crazy because the story would be so similar.
I mean, they were a little bit of the Boston-Chicago Cubs, when I say Boston Red Sox, I'm talking about, because Jordan's out and they get Houston, and they still couldn't do it.
Game 7, they were right there.
Yeah.
Had it snatched away at the very end.
They never beat Jordan, and then when he was gone, they still didn't win it, which is
Which is what most of the league did, because Houston did it and nobody else did.
The Jazz can say the same thing,
right.
Assuming they would have beat whoever was on the other side. Well, there. And Knick basketball is such a huge deal because college basketball around here, I think it's like everybody's not everybody, but you get the point. Most people are college fans, and then it's a question of whether you're a pro fan or not. There, it's reverse. Everybody is a pro fan. It's a question of, are you a college fan?
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, and when I say everybody, you're talking about quadruple plus the population than here, obviously. And the Knicks just resonate so much. They are the team when it comes to basketball above everybody else. And they're the winter sport of record there. Even obviously more than the Nets and more than the colleges. And St. John's has got it going on with Pitino, but still, that's still isolated. And they've had some I, personally, am a long-suffering Knicks fan. I bled for many years with them losing.
Stop.
No, I've followed the Knicks my whole life, so I never did. It's weird. I mean, I watched them. I knew their roster. I knew everything about them, but I never really bled with them. I enjoyed watching. I mean, winter nights. I'm a kid. What am I going to do? And even as a kid, whatever the TV shows were of the day, I wasn't really interested in them.
You weren't here for your sitcoms.
Not really, no.
All in the Family was set in New York. What were you doing? Nope.
I mean, I'm aware of All in the Family. Who isn't? I actually see more All in the Family now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
On TV Land, or clips come up on the phone of him just doing his thing, and you laugh, and you think, oh my gosh, they could never get away with that now.
No, they couldn't.
And the way he would say stuff and all that. So I get the importance of that.
My wife just said that watching something that's 20 or 30 years old. Well, that didn't age well.
Yeah, I mean that show was groundbreaking in a sense in what it represented. Yeah, and so I understand the significance of it, and I certainly watched it from time to time. But it's like I knew what time the Knicks game was on tonight if they were playing when I was a kid, and I can appreciate. And I tell the story of going to. There was a store. It would be like a Sears or any of these other stores. I don't even know stores if Sears exists anymore, but. J.M. Fields, and I'd go to the store with my parents, and I'd immediately go over to the TV section, and they'd have 25 TVs, and they were all the Knicks games. Every TV was the Knicks game.
Totally get it.
And guys would gather around the TV.
Nobody wanted to go to the department store. What are you doing?
Right.
Looking for a microwave or a dishwasher or I don't know, whatever.
And I'd go, and I can remember vividly standing there with guys way older than me, and we'd be breaking down the Knicks. And then that has stuck with me all these years. So I appreciate that. And I got to admit, even though, and I'm not going to run in here if they win and act like, yeah, my team won. I'm not saying that. But I do have a certain, what's the word? Allegiance, maybe?
Yeah, I get it.
But if they win, you don't have to tell me that you saw it coming because I'm not going to brag and I'm not going to beat you up for it like you do with the Sun Devils. Don't worry about that.
I don't even get that. You just totally made that up, Adam.
You're already they got 2 starters coming back and you got them in the top 4. You're the only one.
Oh, top 6 maybe, but top 4.
So I'm not going to claim that. I'll be above board. I'm not this diehard, but it is kind of fun to see them. And then when I can only imagine what the city's going to be like on Monday. Oh my gosh, if they come back 2-0,
it'll feel like it's over. And I realize it's
although
not
if you're a
automatically.
hardcore fan of the Knicks, you're not going to feel that way.
But I'm not.
I know, I understand that.
And I get that hardcore fans will be like, well, it's happened before,
right.
And it has.
Yeah.
But
you're nervous. That's the thing about it. I think there's going to be a time when the Jazz win the title. I don't know when. I hope it's my life. I hope I'm working here. And it's going to be so surreal because you've waited, and then it finally happens. And you're ecstatic But you can't even believe it. It's like I told you that story of watching when the San Francisco Giants won, and they had the TVs in those parks that they have in the city, and there's this lady by herself who looked like she's in her 70s, and she's got tears coming down. And you know it's like a spiritual experience in a sense because you're hearkening back. Maybe her husband was a hardcore, and he's gone now.
Husband, dad, brother, whatever. Yeah. But there's somebody out there.
And I believe it'll happen, and maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I do believe this franchise at some point is going to win the title. I really believe that, and it is going to be it's going to be an unexplainable phenomenon for all these people who have lived by the Jazz for literally their whole lives. That's why we need the Mammoth to get away from now. Because you haven't lived by the Mammoth your whole life. I don't care who you are.
It's impossible.
Right.
So the Mammoth go out and do something like the Diamondbacks did where they just show up and win?
Yeah.
Or the Vegas Golden Knights.
It's cool, but it's not the
same.
same.
You didn't suffer. I totally agree. I thought that watching the Diamondbacks. So you didn't suffer. And when they did it, the Padres have been around 30 years. 30
years is long enough.
Yeah.
That's a generation.
And that was enough. That was enough to create jealousy? What do you guys get?
I was thinking 25.
You just think 25 is a generation?
Yeah, so if we get 25 years from now, if the Mammoth should win,
which is the
that'd
Jazz
be more than now.
The Jazz were at 20 years in 98 when they won. They were basically 20 years in. There was a generation of people who'd waited, rooted, and suffered. And were ready to get it done.
Right.
But now we're another generation past that. Now we're past 50 years.
Yeah.
I think a generation, depending on who you are, is 20, 25, 30 years. You can probably draw that line wherever.
Yeah.
So the Jazz were a couple generations in, and you're right with the Mammoth. It's 2 years.
Right.
That's like one Tom Chambers end-of-career contract.
Yeah, yes.
It's not the same thing.
It would be cool, obviously, and we talk about it endlessly, but at the same time, when we saw the Red Sox, when we saw the Cubs, that there has been some long time suffering, and then they get their opportunity. Now, Boston's got multiple. Chicago got the one, but at least they got the one, and it was still incredible.
We just saw Denver, who'd gone 40 years, and Milwaukee, who'd gone 50. They're both in the 40-50 range, somewhere in there.
And I could put those teams in.
They've gone two generations with the Nuggets and the Bucks.
And the Nuggets had sucked, man, for so long. The Bucks had some good teams.
Right.
It just didn't get over the top. But it seemed like the Nuggets...
Denver was just down.
Used to be good, and then they went...
In the 80s.
And it was like 30 years.
Yeah.
And I can remember being over there on a road trip, turning on the television and watching the news, and they got hammered again. And the sports guy throws back to the anchor. The anchor says, "Do you think the Nuggets are ever going to win? What has happened to this franchise?" And it was a longtime guy who remembered, and now he's looking at it, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I don't know, man." He didn't have an answer. What is he going to say? He can't come out, "Oh, they suck. They got no chance." But he was trying to be politically correct. So, yeah, when the Nuggets won, I've got a close friend who grew up in Colorado, long-suffering Bronco fan, and when they finally won, he was over the moon.
When they broke through, they were 35 years into the Super Bowl era at that point, right?
And they had
had
some
era.
Buffalo Bills-like disappointments. So in order to truly appreciate it, you got to go through some pain.
Well, clearly the Knicks have gone through more pain than the Spurs. Now, you could argue they're both going to break the mold. Either Brunson's going to win as the best player, he's going to be one of 2 or 3 small players who've led his team to a championship. You know, Curry, Isaiah Thomas, him. That'd pretty much.
And those guys were high picks.
He
was a second round
rounder,
pick,
right?
Yeah.
So that's one outlier. But the Spurs winning this young is another outlier. You know, the argument is if the Thunder had been healthy and won, and both these teams had paid some more dues or something. Yeah. But see, the thing is, the way the Knicks are built should give the whole league some more confidence. Like,
I agree.
You don't have to go. Now, what the counterpoint is, you don't have to tank and go through the draft and get super lucky to do it. But you do have to sign Brunson as a free agent, and there are a lot of markets that are thinking we'll never sign a Brunson-quality player as a free agent.
Yeah, but he wasn't a Brunson-quality player then.
He has upgraded himself in the eyes of the league without question, but even so, he was at a good level, and that's a hard player to sign.
He was barely at a good level, though.
I agree, but he was at a good level.
I think he was at a good level because Doncic got hurt and allowed him to have the ball more.
100% on that. 100% on that. He couldn't have done what he did against the Jazz if Doncic was healthy because he'd been in the game, and Luka would have had the ball, and he'd been standing in the corner, not really showing what he could do.
Yeah.
So that goes back to your theory. But see, all the theories intersect. Your theory, you got to stay ready because a chance will come, and you got to be ready to seize it because Luka's going to get healthy, and the chance is going to go away.
Right.
But he was ready in the moment, and he seized it.
I don't know how you don't root for a guy like him. And I get the New York. I hate New York, blah, blah, blah.
And I think that's why.
But you look at the combination of their team and the composition of their team.
He hasn't done anything wrong. He doesn't have any marks against him. He doesn't. And I think generally people just root for the smaller player. They just know it's harder. And it's just you can identify with him.
A lot of folk don't like Mitchell. He won up Mitchell. He got there before him. As a free agent.
He did. He beat him to New York and got the salary spot that Donovan coulda, woulda, shoulda, and wanted.
There's no need for Mitchell now.
No, it doesn't fit.
No, maybe across town, Brooklyn, but not.
That's not the same thing.
No, it's the same city, obviously.
It's the same city, but the Knicks cachet and the Nets cachet, it's apples and oranges.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's pears and kumquats.
I mean, it's the Lakers, Clippers.
It is.
There.
I did see a thing about the lowest TV ratings. I didn't have Toronto because Toronto's national. It goes to all of Canada. But for the other 29 teams, literally the teams that were 28th and 29th in ratings were the Nets and Clippers. Move them to wherever. Vegas and Seattle. What are they doing there? They're selling tickets. People want to see the visiting players. They get a little bit of fan base, but honestly, 10 or 15% of the market
should be in
identifies
San
with
Diego,
them.
and I'm sure the people in San Diego are saying, wait a second, they should be in Houston or Buffalo. But they should be in San Diego.
Yeah, it was the Rockets who went to Houston. The Rockets left San Diego for Houston. The Buffalo Braves moved to San Diego and became the Clippers. But that's why I said wherever.
That's logical.
Buffalo, San Diego,
they need to do
Las
a reverse Chargers.
Yes.
We've seen sellouts almost nightly with the Padres.
Yeah.
They got a fan base there. There is no question about it. And it's not like, they just love baseball and they wouldn't do this. No, I don't buy that at all. I mean, sure, they love baseball, and that franchise is flying high with the attendance, no doubt about it.
Because of the weather, the outdoor sports have always produced more big-time athletes than the indoor sports. There's not a long line. I mean, Bill Walton's the exception. There's not a long line of great basketball players from San Diego. There's a long line of great baseball players.
Get them winning.
And that would help. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just the weather defaults to it, though. You can play those outdoor sports all year round.
Well, then play outside.
Well, I actually do. If you've ever been to Mission Bay, they got the courts down there. Yeah.
Oh, I balled.
That a kid.
Yeah.
DJ and PK, your feedback when we come back. Stay with us. DJ and PK, we are broadcasting live from Studio A. We're downstairs. Fundraiser going on right now. The KSL Give-a-Thon for Primary Children's Hospital. They serve about 60,000 people in the emergency room, wide range of services, kids coming with all kinds of very common health issues, but also some that are really rare and can befuddle doctors, and the bills can be quite massive. They had over $7.5 million worth of financial aid raised through philanthropy last year to help families that are in a really tough spot. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, and also financially. If you'd like to help, KSLKids.com. You can donate online right now, KSLKids.com. Or 801-KSL-KIDS. There are people standing by ready to take a call right now.
I see them.
801-KSL-KIDS. The Intermountain Primary Children's Transplant Program has been performing heart transplants since 1991, liver transplants since 1996, has one of the most successful pediatric transplant programs in the country. 350 total liver transplants, 267 heart transplants during its history.
You just say that phrase, pediatric transplants. That makes me nervous.
Yep.
That's serious.
For lots of reasons it should.
Yeah.
Record year in 2025, 18 pediatric heart transplants, third most in the nation, and 21 pediatric liver transplants, sixth most in the nation. And yes, they serve Salt Lake City. Yes, they serve the Wasatch Front. We got a lot of stuff we don't have time to get into right now, but about how they serve southern Idaho and parts of Wyoming and southern Utah and central Utah. And, people are coming in from Elko, and you got a sick kid.
I was going to say Wendover. I was going to go West Wendover.
Wendover. Good point. And they've got telehealth with those. And they got a case here of a teenager. She probably looks like she's about 15, who was actually having a stroke. And they're having problems diagnosing this massive headache she was having.
That seems unimaginable.
I know. But they got her through it, and apparently she's in a good spot now. And it's because programs like this exist, and you can support them online right now at KSLKids.com or 801-KSL-KIDS. Make a difference at the ground level, as you like to say, PK.
For sure. This is what it's about.
Person to person.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for your feedback, everything you have to say about today's show. And we've asked you a couple of questions today. Nick Saban on college football. It's become an arms race. Who spends the most has got the best chance to win. Do we really want this? Matt, he lost the power and balance that he and his Lake buddies enjoyed for years, and this is his attempt at doing them a solid. You don't want any part of Nick in anything.
I think it's bigger than that. I get that, who is he when he benefited from the system that wasn't really above board completely. I understand that. And, I think you should have a cynicism or try to find the agenda and motivation of everyone when they speak. But I also don't think you can just summarily dismiss what he says because of that.
So I'm looking at a half dozen comments here, and 5 of them line up, as if Alabama didn't spend the most under the table when he was coaching,
yeah,
Nate says.
I understand that.
But the one who goes down the road you're talking about is Greg Utes 14. He says, Nick's right. No, we don't want an arms race. But Nick is mostly pissed that the rest of the country is now able to compete in the arms race.
I understand that cynicism towards him doing the speaking when he benefited at an unbelievable amount of success. So I get all that, but still,
there's also a chance our local teams get spent out of the race, isn't there?
No, there's no question about that. But
right?
Let's hear what he has to say. You don't have to take everything as gospel and implement everything, but still, let's hear what he has to say because he is a senior spokesman of the sport, whether we like it or not.
DJ and PK, we're all done. Scotty G and Tim Lacombe, the coach, literally standing by, ready to take over these seats and guide the good chip lollipop for the next 4 hours. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Hey, what's up? Oh, just scrolling on ZocDoc looking for an in-network therapist to help with my ADHD. This review says Dr. Hamilton is a patient listener.
That sounds good.
No, I need someone to check me when I ramble. Like Dr. Xavier here, his patients say he keeps sessions on track, which is great because once I go off on a tangent, I just keep going. Like this one time
Tangent alert. How about you book the appointment first?
Ah, smart. Booked it. So, like I was saying. Wait, what was I saying?
You've got options. Download the ZocDoc app today.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.